The race for yellow gained speed yesterday as the Peloton of the Tour de France was confronted by a monstrous stage to Pla de Barret in Spain. 4 climbs thinned out the peloton, and by the final ascent it was down to only a few mighty survivors. Denny Menchoff was one dominator, with powerful team support coming from his fellow Rabobank riders. Then the American presence was felt, as Levi Leipheimer took his shot at glory with an attack, and brought a cool Floyd Landis with him to the finish line. In the end, the man with the most fuel left in the tank was Menchoff, and he walked away with the stage win. But more importantly, it was a monumental day for the American Floyd Landis, who rides today as the overall race leader of the Tour. Now it's time for stage 12. Can he protect Le Maillot Jaune on Bastille Day, next on OLN? This is the Saab Tour pre-race show, and today, stage 12. Relatively flat from the therapeutic waters of Luchon to the castles and medieval memories of Carcassonne. It all comes your way today in the 2006 Tour de France. Our mobile studio has made its way to the finish line many hours from where the drama played out in the Tour yesterday in stage 11. Hi, everybody. I'm Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll. Well, we waited for 10 days and 10 stages. Who's going to grab hold of the yellow jersey? Finally, yesterday, Floyd Landis didn't take some backdoor to Le Maillot Jaune. He came front and center and absolutely grabbed it with an iron fist. It was undoubtable that he had the best performance of the day in a game of strength and a battle with the clock, which he won both.
He won the battle of the clock by 8 seconds over Cyril Dessel. That was a bonus, but it was a great day for American cycling.
It all began on the legendary climb known as the Col de Tourmalet. 5 mountain climbs yesterday, and AG2R did absolutely everything to protect the yellow jersey worn by Cyril Dessel. The day was marked by the failure of Iban Mayo with a throat infection. We're told he withdrew and abandoned from the Tour. Struggles everywhere in team discovery as George Hincapie, for one, finished the day 23 minutes behind. On the 4th climb of the day, T-Mobile flexed their muscles, and David Zabriskie was one who fell behind, unable to keep up, now 71st. Now the attacks.
This is Volkler and Rasmussen going over the top of the Tourmalet together. There's already a breakaway up the road, so they're sprinting for the minor placings. Pretty small group. Under the pressure of the AG2R team, they rode a great race. The next couple of climbs would sort things out even further, but it was on the Portillon that the hammer came down from the T-Mobile squad, and Dessel was immediately in trouble after a gigantic breakaway the day before. George Hincapie also dropped. No one would have predicted that Hincapie would be dropped before Cyril Dessel before this tour started. David De La Fuente from Saunier Duval went out on the long solo breakaway, and he got all the maximum points for the King of the Mountain. Floyd Landis putting those mountain bike skills to good use on the descent of the Portillon. Then a long grind up this valley into Spain for the finishing climb of the Pla de Barret. Jose Azevedo hanging tough for the Discovery team, but it was a very slick group, even miles from the top. Michael Boogert swings off, and Denny Menchoff puts in the big attack.
After that, it was up to Levi Leipheimer as Andreas Kloden was dropped in the climb to go for a little bit of a dream. He charged to the finish, looked like he had great legs, but Menchoff just had a little bit more, and he responded. But there was Floyd Landis in the middle of everything good as the Basque flags waved. One more time as the finish line approached, Levi Leipheimer went for the stage win, but again, Menchoff responded. He just had a little bit more as Floyd Landis, bigger picture considered, was content to sit back eventually as this came to the finish line behind all the action.
We saw Floyd at the front throughout the last climb, trying to put time on it between himself and Andreas Kloden. Denny Menchoff with a great stage win for the Rabobank squad, their 3rd of the Tour. Levi Leipheimer, beautiful ride after disappointment yesterday and in the time trial. A lot of redemption for Levi and a great stage for Menchoff. And here is the battle for the yellow jersey. Dessel desperately trying to conserve 8 seconds, and Floyd Landis takes the jersey. Let's not forget that the Tour was won by that same margin in 1989 by another American, Greg LeMond.
Floyd, only the 5th American to ever wear Le Maillot Jaune in the Tour de France, so this is a day for a wide smile for everything that he has put into this sport now at the age of 30, standing on the podium, wearing the great jersey of cycling's great race. Here's the race for the yellow jersey overall, and Floyd's got a nice cushion as Michelob Ultra spells out the numbers. Cyril Dessel not expected to be there for very long, but he's 8 seconds behind. Then Denny Menchoff, boy, did he have legs, 101 behind. Then Cadel Evans, he was part of the lead group until the final climb, 117 back. And Andreas Cloden, I don't know if he's a real player or not.
That was not a good showing from Cloden. Now he finds himself 2.5 minutes behind. Mick Rogers, another minute further back from that.
Now the American story. Levi Leipheimer with a fine showing on the day, but he's still 5:39 behind the yellow jersey. And George Hincapie and Discovery, they've got a lot to talk about. Hincapie now, as I mentioned, 23:01 back. Here's Floyd Landis on the honor he now has.
Floyd, an unbelievable stage today. Is this the best colored yellow jersey you've ever pulled over your shoulders?
Yeah, this is the one I dreamed about, so I couldn't have asked for more the way the stage went. Worked out in my favor. There was a couple times where it was isolated, but there was a couple teams who were very confident in themselves, and that, in the end, paid off for me.
How long you plan to keep the yellow jersey on your back?
Well, I would like to keep it until the end. It's going to be hard to control, but yeah, we've said from the beginning our goal is to win, and so far things are going all right.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks, Frankie.
And what Floyd Landis does with the prosperity of the yellow jersey remains to be seen. We'll see starting today with stage 12. It's a complex thing wearing Le Maillot Jaune, and it's part of Bobke's Guide to the Tour, which brings us to the complexities of the human animal.
The Tour de France is nothing less than a complete test of the human animal. You have to have the ability to discern the moment when cooperation is needed and then when competition is required. You need the agility, the power, the balance, the skill, plus the endurance of every other sport, and the endurance is critical. You have to have a furious rage in your belly to go through the suffering that's required to compete in the Tour de France, and then you need to know the judgment when that time is right. And Floyd Landis has put all of those elements together and finds himself in the yellow jersey.
Well said, Bob. We'll take a break on the Saab Tour pre-race show, getting you set for stage 12 here to Carcassonne. There are many American stories. Not among them this year in the race, Tyler Hamilton. We'll hear from him after this. This is the Tour on OLN.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
Welcome to the Saab Tour pre-race show. Unbelievable pictures today. We're at the finish line in Carcassonne, a medieval city home to 50,000 people today. All of France wonders, can a Frenchman in their great race grab some glory on Bastille Day? Here's a look. Luchon is the starting point, Carcassonne the finishing point. It's like driving from Savannah to Jacksonville on an 85-degree day with plenty of humidity. They know what it's like in that part of America. 4 stage finishes here since 1947. Strasbourg on the border with Germany so long ago for the prologue in stage 1. Went to Luxembourg, Holland, Belgium, into Brittany, down into the Pyrenees yesterday, and a dramatic stage for American Floyd Landis. One Category 2 today, just outside of Luchon, then some sprint bonuses. And as you look at the stage profile, it could be a day for the sprinters, or maybe a day for a breakaway in the map presented by AMD. Al Trautwig with Bob Roll, Paul Sherwen, and Phil Liggett. And we're going to bang some things around in a moment because we have a hot topic to debate. In fact, it's a hot topic in just about every sport. Performance enhancement, take your pick, whether it's baseball, football, gymnastics, even swimming. Athletes do it. That's the bottom line. Now, there's a long list of athletes who've been caught one way or the other, either through implication or through a positive test that said, I didn't do it. Tyler Hamilton is on that list, and currently he is counting down the months to the end of his 2-year suspension. With him and his wife, Haven, we sat down to discuss exactly what he's been going through during the suspension.
For the last year and, let's see, 9 months, we've weathered a pretty incredible storm. It's been a difficult period, probably the hard for both of us. It's been the hardest time of our lives.
One of the most telling things about Tyler's reaction to this whole scandal was his first day back in the United States. He went to the Interbike trade show and he faced the entire industry there. Thousands and thousands of people, shop owners, vendors, manufacturers, fans. And he's never hidden from any of this. And he's looked people in the eye and he's been willing to answer any question that people have had without exception. And that's still true today.
This whole situation has been frustrating because this whole story is very long and complicated. And unfortunately, the media's only told about 10% of that story.
The case is based and rooted in science, and a lot of it is very complicated. It took us, almost 2 years to learn the science in this case and understand it. So we don't expect people to grasp it, especially at the first try or in 500 words or less. We know that that's too much to ask.
I'm disappointed with what happened. I can't tell you how disappointed I am, but I'm not bitter. I don't want to be bitter. Because if I'm bitter, then, I don't want to be a bitter old man. And, back in 2004. But, I certainly will never forget this, that's for sure.
In the early going, in 2004, we thought we would have had this whole situation wrapped up in the off-season, and that we would have been back by 2005 training camp. That's how naive we were. We didn't know how long the process was going to drag out. And now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We know September is only a couple more months away, and we can see, we know that we're heading back, and he'll be back on track and racing again soon.
People will see when I come back that I'm the same person that I was. There's a lot of people I haven't really spoken to in 2 years that are still back in the sport, and they'll see I'm the same Tyler as before. Hopefully the same bike racer as well.
Part 2 with Tyler Hamilton and his wife tomorrow. He recently got some good news because of inconclusive evidence. He's allowed to keep his Olympic gold medal from Athens. However, there still is that Spanish Inquisition going on. Phil, what's your take? Big picture. Forget Tyler Hamilton for a moment. In the sport of cycling and beyond with doping.
There's no doubt that there's been drugs in cycling for possibly 100 years. The tests really started to cast them out exactly 40 years ago this year. But at least cycling is trying to be honest with itself. The other sports are still cheating themselves because here we have doctors saying they are treating athletics, football players, and those federations are saying we've got no problems with what's going on, and that's wrong. But one thing I would say, Al, is why do cyclists, amongst other athletes, travel hundreds of miles to see a doctor when they've got a GP down the road? Now, I'm sure that man isn't just telling them how well to take vitamins, because that, I think, is completely wrong. Now, the other thing is, Al, this year's Tour de France, riders are tired. Riders are doing strange things. They're attacking and getting tired. I honestly believe what happened at the beginning of this tour has frightened many riders in this race to stop doing their preparations. And we might be seeing the first really clean Tour de France, for many years.
That would be amazing. Now, as a competitor at the highest level of the sport in the mid-'80s, did you ever get mad or frustrated because you knew stuff was going on?
Well, the thing is, Al, you never really knew stuff was going on. If a rider performed well, you'd think, well, that guy's found something special to make him ride a little bit better than everybody else. What I always found strange was, a lot of riders, they didn't do well in the early part of the season, then all of a sudden, in the month of July, they were great. The suspicion is always going to be there as an athlete if somebody does all of a sudden start to ride well just for 3 or 4 weeks. But at the end of the day, it's an easy way out. If somebody beats you, you can always think, well, he did drugs.
You know what makes me mad, Bob, and I wonder how you handle it, just as a sports fan? You don't know greatness anymore when you see it. You look at a Lance Armstrong 7 straight, you look at a Barry Bonds, all the home runs. You're just not sure if you are seeing greatness. It's frustrating.
Well, I think that the benefit of the doubt has to be given until there's conclusive proof. Until then, there's nothing to say for the journalists or the governing bodies. And until that moment, when you have absolute proof of a positive finding during one of the events, well, then I think you got to let the music play.
Meanwhile, you watch Floyd Landis, you have to hope that eventually in your favorite sport, the governing bodies get it right. In the case of this particular race, just sit back and enjoy it for what it is right now. Floyd Landis in the yellow jersey. That's our daily debate presented by Patron. There is no debate about the perfection of Patron. Well, we love great races, don't we? We've got a great one in the Saab Performance Predictions because things are extremely tight, but we have to go into the rule book to see that after what was picked yesterday in our Saab Performance Predictions by Bob Roll, Floyd Landis, and me, Cadell Evans, we do remain tied. But we go to the commissar of the sport with Phil and Paul still there, of course, and we've got the Alps still to come. There will be no change of the yellow jersey, so you can try and grab it, but I will take it back. We come now to the picks for today, and I believe, Phil, you're up first.
No, I believe it's Paul.
Oh, Paul up first, sorry.
I think I'll go first, and because I'm doing so well, I expect there's going to be a breakaway, but to try and get back into the game, I've got to pick a sprinter, and the only sprinter who hasn't sprinted well so far in the Tour is Tom Boonen, so I'm going to stick with my bad choices, but this time I think Tom Boonen is going to come up with the goods. After all, Big Tom is one of the most prolific winners on the circuit this year, with 17 wins so far, but he hasn't yet got one at the Tour.
Basically, Phil, we're answering the question that there'll be a sprint or a breakaway will succeed.
Well, that's absolutely right. Tom Boland's already admitted he doesn't like the length of today's stage, and it's going to be very hot here to Carcassonne. I'll go for Robin McEwen because he never lets me down, little Robbie. He's such a fast finisher, 3 wins already this Tour. Although, deep down in my heart, Al, to answer the other half of your question, I think it'll be a breakaway today. But if it isn't, this man will score. And gamblers like me never take chances.
Robbie even got sprinter's points in yesterday's mountain stage. Bob?
I think I'm going to have to go with a breakaway. It's been 2 hard days in the mountains. Floyd Landis' team, they're expected to control the race. They won't want to do that, especially if the right composition in the breakaway gets away. And I think Christian Morini, who's been riding very well, he's a veteran of a number of tours, and he has what it takes to go all the way to the finish line in Paris, also to break away today. And he's on a French team. It's Bastille Day, so I think that Christian Marini's your man.
That's a big one for me. Just cue up La Marseillaise and see what happens at the finish line. How about the French champion on Bastille Day? He's so far back in the yellow jersey race that I think they'll let him go. Florent Bras of France, at the age of 30, he is ready as the French road champion to continue my hold in the yellow jersey of the Saab Performance Predictions. Phil and Paul heading to the booth to call stage 12 today. Our coverage of the 2006 Tour de France will continue. Floyd Landis wears Le Maillot Jaune, the yellow jersey. This will be his first day in that honored position, and we'll see what he does with it in stage 12.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration, except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma. I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Some perfection is debatable. Some is not. Patron, the world's #1 ultra-premium tequila. Simply perfect. Please drink responsibly.
Is the IRS keeping you up at night? Are you afraid of losing everything? Don't let the IRS control your life.
Hello, I'm John Harris, president of J.K. Harris & Company. The IRS can attach your wages, your pension, your savings, even your Social Security checks. If penalties and interest have made your IRS problem go from bad to worse, call us now.
Call the IRS experts at J.K. Harris now for your free confidential tax settlement analysis.
Call 800-875-8195. Build wealth, protect your portfolio, and grow your IRAs and 401ks with Options Success, the easy step-by-step trading system designed to help you minimize risk and make huge profits, whether the market is going up, down, or sideways. Today, options are traded by individual investors in record-setting volumes. Now you can tap into this fast-growing and profitable investment opportunity. Attend a free Options Success workshop. Call now or register online at optionsss.com for this free workshop.
I'm up about $8,000, 3,000 hours a week. I made $57,000.
This workshop is your chance to cash in on the power of options.
2 free Option Success Systems workshops will be held at 12:30 and 6 p.m. each day. Tuesday, July 25th at the Sheraton West Hotel, Lakewood. Wednesday, July 26th at the Doubletree Hotel North, Westminster. And Thursday, July 27th at the Radisson Hotel Southeast in Aurora, Colorado.
Yesterday's epic mountain stage has come and gone, and with it the first big obstacle for the peloton. The GC contenders have finally emerged from the shadows, and one rider in particular wrote his name into the history books. Floyd Landis leads the Tour de France tonight. The American put in a superb ride atop the Plat de Berry and became the 5th ever to wear the coveted yellow jersey. Today we celebrate Bastille Day, and with it the French contingent will be up front, and they'll be looking to make their country proud. Join us as we make our way to the beautiful walled city of Carcassonne, and that's next on OLN. And this morning on a sunny day, it's away from the base of the Col de Peloton in Luchon. We are bound now to this lovely 12th century medieval city of Carcassonne. It is absolutely roasting today. This is by tradition the hottest part of France. There's Paul Sherwen's fan club, and we're all set to go on another day here on OLN in the live coverage of the Tour de France. Hi everybody, Phil Liggett, joined by Paul Sherwen. Well, yesterday, what a day, and what a way to finish, Paul, with an American on top.
Well, you know, Floyd Landis has been promising this the whole season. Had a great start to the year in the Tour of California, but since then, we've been expecting this. But yesterday, to me, was a monumental day in the Tour's history.
It was. We saw the strong men survive to the end. Let's have a look how they stand this morning after that great battle of the Pyrenees. Floyd Landis moved up into the yellow jersey. Denny Menchoff won the stage and came in on 3rd. Cadel Evans had a great day, up to 4th. Andreas Kloden didn't have such a great day, but there he is in 6th. Leipheimer, he was out the middle 50s, up into 13th yesterday. Acevedo, the ace, the best placed Discovery Channel rider, followed by Popovic and George Hincapie. We have to be honest, of course, that it wasn't a great day for Discovery Channel yesterday. But Paul, today it's Bastille Day. The weather is perfect. The French have got to be fired up.
Yes,
mad.
yes. Well, it is fast. It is Bastille Day, the 14th of July. It's the French national holiday.
Yeah.
And any French professional cyclist, Phil, he'll be G'd up today. He wants to get into the breakaway. He wants to win for France. And in the past, they've been pretty successful at this, you know, because they have been very dominant, especially in the last few years. In fact, 2005 and 2004 went to 2 French riders. Laurent Jalabert has won twice on Bastille Day in the past, but, you know, over the years since the Tour began, they've won on Bastille Day 29 times.
Yes, in the last 2 editions of the Tour de France with Moncoutier and Veronk, they have won, so they're on a hat-trick if they can win again today. Thank you, Paul. Well, let's have a look at the back at the start. There is Floyd, his first day in the Maillot Jaune of any Tour de France, and 165 started, but already this particular one has dropped out. Paolo Savidelli abandons the race today. Over the top of the first climb, small breakaway, and it was led over the top by Rasmussen, looking good for the King of the Mountains now. At the sprint, it was another rider in that breakaway too, Daniela Bernardi, who got points, taking them away from Robbie McEwen. And currently, these are the 4 riders now, because that breakaway got swept up. 4 new leaders now. Let's get down to the action. There they are, Jaroslav Popovic. He is there, 9 minutes behind overall for Discovery Channel. Oscar Freire, Alessandro Balan, Christophe Lemavelle. He's the one Frenchman at the back here, Paul. He's going to carry all the hopes of France for the moment.
Well, for the moment, but they daren't let this breakaway get too far in front for one reason, the fact that Jaroslav Popovic is in the move. He is a rider who admittedly had a very difficult passage through the Pyrenees, but if they give him 7 or 8 minutes back on a day like today, it could put him right back into contention. A very hot and humid day here this afternoon. This is a very difficult part of France whenever the Tour comes through here. It's up to 94 degrees Fahrenheit, but that, Phil, reflected off the road makes the temperature as high as 115.
Yes, look at that shimmer. That's from the finishing line here in Carcassonne. It's always hot here, though, every year when the Tour de France comes in this region of the area of the Aude and coming away from the department of the Ariège. Spectacular part of France we're in today. 54.9 miles to go. There's the peloton then, snaking its way through. They're looking now at a gap on the leaders of around 3.5 minutes. And at the moment, it's left to the workhorses of Phonak, the team of the new race leader now, Floyd Landis. But very shortly, Paul, we've got to see Robin McEwen send riders up here, because he will be worried about the presence of Oscar Freire in that breakaway, because a successful day for Freire today will give him the lead in the green jersey competition. By the same token, Landis can't afford to let Popovic run too far either.
Well, there's a little bit of discussion, I think, going on board of Davide Monlotto, the team of Robin McEwen, because just a little bit earlier, once this breakaway was formed, Robin McEwen actually jumped away in a group to try and catch up to this leading group of 4. And Cadel Evans came up alongside him and said, just calm down, Robbie, just take it easy, wait for the rest of the flat stages to come. We can't burn the team out, because they're in a difficult situation of trying to ride for a high place in the overall classification and win the points competition too.
Now listen, on that first second category climb of the day today, which was after 27 kilometres, the Col d'Arès, Michael Rasmussen was getting maximum points and consolidating a top 3 placing in the King of the Mountains. At the same time, the new King of the Mountains, David de la Fuente, was left behind by the peloton. On to the next climb, David Miller, a teammate of David de la Fuente, was in the breakaway and snatched the main points on the next climb. Rasmussen was second, but the breakaway has been caught. Since then, and during that period of time, we have seen a sort of collapse of Team Discovery Channel, because not only did poor old Sabadelli go out, he was involved in an accident yesterday and 15 stitches in his head after the race was over, but Benjamin Noval has also abandoned now. We've never talked about abandons on Team Discovery over all these years. Riders started today, the race rather, 176. 165 took the start today, but along with Isaac Galvez and Martinez, we're down to just 161, and just 6 of the 20 teams left intact.
Well, there's going to be a lot more abandons, I think, Phil, over the next 4 or 5 days, because these days, although if you look at the profile, they're not very savage, but they're undulating, and the most difficult thing for the riders here is the heat, which is extremely oppressive. This is basically one of the hottest parts of France. We saw Lance Armstrong himself in a time trial not too far away from here completely crumble in front of Jan Ullrich, almost losing the Tour on that one occasion.
Well, it's such a scorching day. I was wondering if the riders might feel a little bit too tired to make a race of it. Well, I can tell you we are running nearly 11 minutes ahead of the fastest expected time of arrival today. So despite the full distance, it's a long, long way at 211 kilometres after yesterday. These riders are having a go. Oscar Freire, the big danger for the green, and indeed Popovic could fight his way back in. Well, we heard Paul Sherwen's version of La Marseillaise.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Pennzoil and by your Trek dealer, your local Tour Mania headquarters. Come in daily to catch Tour Mania and get huge savings on bikes and accessories.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
I've kind of got this problem. I can't sleep, cold sweats, rash. I think I've got this Tour Mania thing.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of sick prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at TrekBikes.com.
Oh, what a relief. Hey, what have you got for this?
Ah.
She's the pride of Paris, but she was supposed to be torn down until she became a radio tower, then a TV antenna. And now, millions of folks climb to the top and pay for the privilege. Wouldn't you like to find new ways to make money with what you've already got?
Who is Floyd Landis? He helped Lance get wins 5 and 6, and now he wants to keep the yellow jersey in America. The cyclism, the men who would be king, Tour de France, continues tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. live, only on OLN.
OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
Someone wants a free rate quote from Geico.
Well, yeah, of course I do.
So they go to geico.com or where?
No, you can't get a Geico quote anywhere else, mate.
Why not?
Exclusivity. Makes people feel special, doesn't it? The old velvet rope.
So getting a free rate quote from geico.com is like getting access into some exclusive club.
Exactly. Knock, knock. Who's there? Bloke looking for a Geico quote, looking to save money on his car insurance. Oh, hello, mate. Come on in. How are you? How's your mum? How's it feel to be better than everyone else?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Welcome back to stage 12 today at the Tour de France. Goodbye to the Pyrenees, hello to the hot Southlands and Carcassonne in particular on today's stage. A couple of few small hills on the way out. Rasmussen's been out on the attack early on and picked up a few points. He's setting himself up as a good retention of his possible title when he gets down to the Alps. There's the situation at the moment up to date for you. De La Fuente has been dropped by the peloton the first climb, 80 points. Dessel 62. Rasmussen is now up, equal third there with Weckman, but probably getting the third place nod on more higher finishes on the climbs. And Mercado there in the top 5. That's the situation in the King of the Mountains. Now Floyd's team here should be a little bit worried because they are getting a man in the breakaway, Jaroslav Popovic, who could be a danger if allowed to run a little bit too far. The latest gap on 4 riders, including Popovic, is at 3 minutes and 52. As we're now looking at Floyd Landis, this is his first day in yellow. He must be a little concerned, you know, whether he can keep the yellow jersey or not, simply because he's got a team that's a little bit suspect and there's a long way to go. Let's ask him anyway.
Depends on the circumstances. I wouldn't be completely opposed to letting it go if there's a team that has some interest in helping us later. But I think there's a lot of attacks today because it's Bastille day, and I imagine there's a lot of people want to win the stage, so it might be hard to arrange that, but no, I'm not completely against it.
Last night was your first night sleeping in the yellow jersey. What were you thinking? How'd that feel?
I didn't actually sleep in the jersey, but
you should have.
Fine. Is that how you're supposed to do it? No, I felt fine.
Thank you.
He felt fine, he looks fine, he's never looked slightly weak either, despite his bombshell on the first rest day of the tour saying he's going to face a hip operation soon. Well, I can tell you that many of you have sent emails to me to tell me that you have had successful hip operations and never felt better cycling afterwards, and I've passed those emails on to Floyd, and I'm sure giving him some encouragement there. The gap, 3 minutes and 51 seconds is the gap there. 82 kilometers to go. We are running just on 11 minutes ahead of the fastest time today. The boys in the hot seat without doubt are Phonak. Big test day for these boys, Paul, because we're not sure this team is a strong enough team to lead Landis into the Alps.
Well, I think they've played a waiting game basically over the first 10 days of the tour. We haven't seen a lot of them. They've been solid at the front of the main field when needed to make sure that Floyd Landis was up at the front of the pack and out of any kind of danger. But let's not forget this team was brought together to the Tour de France with the thought of actually leading the race. Now they have the lead, as we saw with AG2R a couple of days ago. I think you'll see a completely different Team Phonak. As we saw the French team, which a couple of years ago, Phil, we talked about as being a second division team, not a strong team. I thought they were phenomenal yesterday, and I think we'll see over the next couple of days a complete transition in Team Phonak.
Well, I know you were impressed, and I was too, with someone who's a friend of ours. In fact, the only South African in the race, Robbie Hunter, rides with Floyd Landis. Boy, he put in some great work yesterday for Landis and saw him go on for that yellow jersey. Overall, Popovic in that breakaway, 9 minutes behind. The rest really don't matter because they're 3/4 of an hour to nearly an hour behind. But they can't allow Landis can't allow Popovic to go too far ahead, because that would be a big reversal of fortune for Team Discovery.
Well, at 4 minutes, the gain as we stand. If we stop the race here, Popovic would be tickling a top 10 position. On stages like this, you have to be very attentive, because in the past we've seen breakaways go 5, 10, 15 minutes in front. But as you say, they cannot let Jaroslav Popovic have that much freedom. I think what they'll try and do is level the advantage at around about the 5-minute mark, and then hope that Robbie McEwen's team and of course Team Quickstep of Tom Bonan come to the front down towards the end and give them a little bit of hand.
Well, just looking at the riders here, it was such a hard day yesterday, and in fact one of the riders we spoke to, Michael Rogers, the world time trial champion, he was saying officially, when they checked the monitored his consumption, he used 6,000 calories yesterday in what he saw as one of the toughest days he had ever had in a Tour de France. That is, it's a better way than any diet to lose weight, I can assure you of that. This is the field as they're continuing. Now we've just had a flash on our computer here about what is going to happen today from Hendrik Redant, the director sportif of De Vita Malotto. He says, well, we've already spent some time chasing Daniela Bonatti, and Robbie has done that because of the points classification for that green jersey. And now we've been and had a chat with Tom Bonan, because he's a likely winner of the day. And if he starts to put some men up front, then we might as well. But for the moment, he hopes that it will just simply be brought back into the race without too much expending of energy. Well, we'll see as that goes on. Well, there's the peloton. The back end looks under pressure already again today. All right, well, don't forget to tune in tonight, as OLN, as always, will have enhanced coverage of the Tour de France. This time it'll be stage 12 on the road to Carcassonne. We'll go inside the Phonak team car for a look at the action from yesterday's stage. That's the primetime show. It begins at 8 p.m. Eastern, that's 9 p.m. Pacific. And daily coverage of the Tour de France this year is only, as ever, on OLN. This is the beauty of the department of the Aude now. They have a very, very good women's race in this area, which is a 5 or 6 day race called the Women's Tour de l'Aude. Quite hilly, but not mountainous. There's the rider in the hot seat, the 6th different wearer of the maillot jaune this year, and he's the first one to really smile.
OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis, a unique and exciting format featuring the best players in the world, head-to-head, team-to-team, and leading up to exclusive coverage of the championship match in August.
It's World Team Tennis on OLN.
Sunday, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers take on the 5-time WTT champs Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis presented by Advanta, Sunday at 11:30, only on OLN.
Cervelo does an incredible amount of testing. This test you're going to see here shows what happens when the bike hits a large pothole or a curb. Most carbon frames don't do very well at this test.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing The all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorb are down south for an invigorating winter break. With temperatures as high as -30, it's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
Attention.
With the MLB Extra Innings package, no matter where your team is, every game's a home game. You can watch your team's games or scout the competition. MLB Extra Innings. Baseball shouldn't be a long-distance relationship. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
Maybe it's time to upgrade. Upgrade to Comcast Digital Cable with HBO and Stars for $49.99 a month for 3 months. More channels, more movies, more music. Just call 1-800-COMCAST today. Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcastic.
Robbie McEwen there, the green jersey leader of the Tour de France. Pretty solid one at that, but for how long will he keep it? He's actually held that jersey now for 9 days, and that's the situation. 217 kilometres. Bonin is the man behind him, but Frere 181 with 35 points for the win today, making him up to 216, and 1 sprint bonus along the route. He could take the lead in this competition today because he's in the breakaway. And McEwen spent an awful lot of time this morning chasing down a breakaway that contained Daniela Bonatti. And now they brought that one back. This one has gone. There's Oscar Freire on the right, a double stage winner of Caen and Dax already in this race, enjoying his finest tour. Popovic is hunting for time in the yellow jersey competition. Christophe Lemavelle here, he's looking for the win for France on Bastille Day. And this rider here is a very good sprinter too, Alessandro Ballan. Better noted as a one-day rider. He's finished 4th in this year's Paris-Roubaix. Well, that's the situation with those boys, but what about Team Phonak? Because they have got the race leader on their team at the moment. Let's go down now and have a word with the man who is the manager of Phonak and used to be part of the organisation of the Tour de France, and that is John Lelong.
Jersey for the first time yesterday. Did you have a little bit of a celebration last night?
Yeah, we drank a little bit good wine, good champagne, but concentrating on the next stages. But it was, it was pleasant. Even in the downhill of after the finish, we were blocked with truck. We saw some Basque supporters. We changed a jersey, a normal Phonak jersey, for some beers for the staff, and so it was nice. It was cool, and I think that everybody was happy. Everybody was happy during the last 6 months, and now they have something for all the teammates, for all the staff. They know that all the work that we have done since January is something which is really important.
Jean Long's first outing as a director sportif of a team like that too, so what a great day for him. There's the situation after yesterday's stage. Landis now nearly 50 hours in the saddle, just a scant 8 seconds ahead of Cyril Dessel of France. Denis Menchov is in 3rd, and Cadel Evans of Australia, highest he's ever been in a Tour de France at the moment, in 4th. Carlos Sastre, big danger I think, he sits there in 5th. Just the beautiful countryside here. The lanes twist and they turn. The peloton is dropping back despite that apparent hard work. It's now out, Paul, to just over 4 minutes. So I'll give it another minute, and I think alarm bells might start to ring back in the bunch.
They're going to have a hard time pulling these guys back, especially over a terrain like today, because just look at the road surface here. This is a very rough road surface. In the southern part of France here, there's a lot of chippings on the road surface because of the fact that the weather conditions are fairly hot. So they put extra stones over the top and make it very difficult. We're on a 4th category climb here, a very difficult 4th category climb. 3.9 kilometers, an average gradient of just inside of 3%. And at the summit of this climb, it's 76 kilometers to go. But what's difficult about a climb like this, Phil, is the heat. Because today, out on the course, there's not very much wind until you come down towards the finish. And this heat here in the southern part of France, it's really quite oppressive. It's almost, you can almost eat the wind out there because it's just so thick.
Well, 96 degrees at the moment. Oscar Freire not bothering to contest that at all. He's more interested in the green jersey. Popovic was on the front, went over the line. Nobody contested that. Nobody interested in the King of the Mountains. They're too far behind. So Popovic heads over Lemaivel, Balan and Freire in that order. And there's no points at the back either, so there won't be a race for the top from the peloton when they get there, because only the first 3 get points. See, Floyd's brought the big bike out now, coloured yellow. It's funny how they always have these things on board ready just in case.
Just in case. That's what the sport of professional cycling is all about. You have to wait and hope that one day or another you're going to have that. And in fact, he's changed his short colours. In years gone by, it was illegal to change the colour of your shorts to match him with the jersey. The man who pioneered that was the great Mario Cipollini. He didn't care about the fines and always had something very special to do. But now I think the International Cycling Union have they've given up the ghost on that and realised that sometimes pink and yellow doesn't really go together.
Quite right too. It's a bit of style and fashion message from the Tour de France, I think. Well, the wheat there getting almost ripe to reap as the riders go by to the department of the load. These 4 riders, this was the end product of a lot of attacking this morning, and at this break, when they all came back together, suddenly shot up the road, not even 1s and 2s, but all of them just jumped out the peloton, 4 of them, and that was it. They went away, whereas the others had tried all day and got really nowhere. Tight old bend. This is the very typical of the small hills that abound in this area. That's why it's so nice to bring your bike over and go cycling. Not many cars in this area, even when the Tour de France is not here. As they twist and turn, duck and dive, short, steep climbs. And the boys here having to keep their wits about them because this heat will be melting the tar on the roads today.
Certainly will. That's the problem about these roads. They are very sticky roads. And it coins the phrase that a lot of professional bike riders use. I felt like I was stuck to the road. Well, in this part of France, very often you almost literally are stuck to the road because the tar tends to melt because of the oppressive heat that we're going through at the moment, and it lifts a little bit to the surface, making the road surface actually quite sticky. And that makes it a lot harder than on a lot of the smoother road surfaces that we got in the northern part of Europe.
Well, we're just descending down here into another small town as the riders pass through. Still building nicely on the breakaway. They've still got 74 kilometers left to ride, so this will be Palmier itself for the leaders. Peloton now, no attacking riding, but boy, they aren't hanging around, even though the breakaway is pulling away ever so slightly at the minute. They're working hard. Okay, let's log on to olntv.com/fly to the finish and a chance to win a Saab 97X or a Cervelo bicycle. And watch out for the code word today. What else could it be? Bastille Day. And the peloton being conducted by a team based in Switzerland with an American in the maillot jaune. And just when all of the other nations thought they were rid of the Americans dominating the Tour de France, here comes Floyd Landis. Can you believe that? Well, these are the riders in the breakaway, all in a bunch rather, being paced by Floyd Landis. Note that new bicycle, because we can show you a little bit more on that right now. This was this morning, presentation time. The yellow bike has arrived. Floyd Landis looks at it, checks the weight. Oh, that's quite legal. Shakes hands there with his team director. And, well, he's worked hard enough to earn that bike yesterday. He was absolutely superb. Number 71 sits yellow now. There he is. Floyd Landis, first full day, reflecting the sunshine around the department of the load. The yellow jersey is heading to Carcassonne, and so are we. See you in a moment.
Some perfection is debatable, some is not. Patron, the world's #1 ultra-premium tequila. Simply perfect. Please drink responsibly.
So, boss, what keeps you up at night? Maybe you've been tasked with coming up with the next best thing since sliced bread. But look at the guy who invented sliced bread. He didn't invent bread. He didn't invent slicing. He just applied new technology to an age-old problem. Now, who's going to help you do that?
This is Duralast, the alternator built to exceed the need. Built with heavy-duty components to perform under extreme conditions, engineered to surpass original equipment standards for longer life. Built with the technology to withstand high electrical demands and backed by a nationwide lifetime warranty. Get the alternator built to exceed the need. Only at AutoZone.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Al and Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN.
What are you setting your sights on? And when you see it, will you be ready? Learn why the Army is a great place to prepare for your future. You could get enlistment bonuses and help in starting a savings plan today. Plus, get money for college. Gain valuable experience and a firm financial footing for tomorrow. Call 1-800-436-5076 and get this free DVD and Boonie hat. Whatever you're looking for, the U.S. Army can help you find it.
Target identified.
July 21st, for the first time ever, the world's biggest comic book movie and animation convention comes to you live. G4 presents Comic-Con 06 Live.
It is indescribable.
On the floor with 100,000 fans.
I'm totally geeking out.
Bringing you breaking news, interviews, and events as they happen. Plus, one of the most anticipated films of 2007. It's a Transformer movie exclusive. Comic-Con 06 Live.
Presented by Yaris.
July 21st at 8, only on G4.
Welcome back to Tour de France, heading now to Carcassonne and enjoying a warm, hot, sunny day, but the pressure remains on despite the fact the Pyrenees have gone behind us for the moment, because in that breakaway, a counter tactic here by Johan Brunel Team Discovery, Jaroslav Popovic, 9 minutes behind, has gone in a breakaway, which is still pushing on now. It's just gone over 4 minutes, the lead by that breakaway, and for that reason the tempo's pretty high here in the town of Palmier for the leading riders on the peloton and chasing that 4-man breakaway. Jaroslav Popovic, Oscar Freire, Alessandro Ballan and Christophe Lemaivel, the only Frenchman in that breakaway, is the man up front. There is Levi Leipheimer riding his yellow bicycle today and never having looked at all under pressure since the very first day of this year's Tour de France, we have to add, because he wasn't in trouble yesterday. He didn't win the stage, but he did what he set out to do, finishing the same time as the winner, and only 2 other guys could do that and get the yellow jersey on his shoulders. So that's the way it is going just at the moment, with Lemaivel right up front. Okay, well now it's time for our 10-2 moment, brought to you by Nike. Well, the man yesterday, I think it was Levi Leipheimer. This was the situation in the time tower when he looked at the clock and shook his head. Life was not good. But yesterday, I think this was the Jekyll and Hyde personality of Levi, because now this man was flying. He tried to win the stage. It was a desperate lunge at the end. He almost did, but he finished in the same time. He climbed from the depths to 13th overall. For more great stories, go to weareyellow.com. And there's the situation where he is at the bottom 13th, but look where he plunged to. 72nd at one stage, 6:43, then he went to 10:28. Now he's back, just 5:39 off yellow. And with the Alps still to come, it's all possible for Levi. Floyd Landis, though, not concerning himself with anybody else's statistics but his own, and he's got the best time on the Tour de France route so far this year. Just inside now, 70 kilometres to go, Paul, 68, and they are moving, but I still don't think they will want this breakaway to start running to finish with a gain of over 4 minutes.
No, well, there are two reasons, and two different teams want to pull that breakaway back into the fold. Obviously, Team Phonak don't want to give Jaroslav Popovic too much of an advantage, and I think there's probably a little bit of rivalry between the two teams as well, especially between Floyd Landis and Discovery Channel, because after all, Team Discovery was a team that Floyd Landis was a member of a number of years ago, and he left because he couldn't stand the strict regime which was imposed on the team by Lance Armstrong and of course by Johan Brunel. He's a little bit more of a free spirit, Landis.
Well, passing the beautiful plantain or plane trees here in this region of Parmier, as we say goodbye to Parmier now. Next stop we'll be heading for La Tour. Landis will always just ride in that slipstream there. If you're only just joining us, let me tell you that there's been a big disappointment today for Team Discovery. Out two riders, Paolo Savardelli and Benjamin Noval are both retired. Isaac Galvez, the sprinter we've seen at the back of the bunch for the last few days, he's given up. And also Jose Alberto Martinez of the Agra Turbal team. Now there is a tale about Savardelli.
Yes, Savardelli was unfortunately involved in an accident yesterday after the race was finished. Now, a lot of riders, when you go to a mountaintop finish, because they can't get the cars up there, the riders find it a lot quicker to ride back down the mountain to get to the hotel. Well, Savardelli was riding down from the finish line to the hotel, and he crashed into a spectator. And the crash, in fact, in the crash, he probably wasn't wearing his helmet, because he ended up having to go to hospital and have 15 stitches in his head.
Well, obviously today, a bit of a headache, a bit of a, I think, a bit of a strong pulsation experience in the head with the heat that's around today. He actually climbed off. So that's rather sad for the man who's won the Tour of Italy, indeed, for Team Discovery. So they're down to 7 men, and I can't think of, I think about one occasion in the years of reign of Lance Armstrong they failed to get to Paris without the full complement of 9.
Very rare did that happen. It was a question of pride for either US Postal or Team Discovery to finish with a full complement of riders. But this morning, the team briefing, team manager Jean Lalonde, he said to the team, right guys, anybody who is inside of 10 minutes gets into a breakaway and we will chase them down, we will peg them back. And poor old Jaroslav Popovic, he was just inside that because he's at exactly the 9-minute mark.
Well, they've got to work it out, and it's very hot to have a big day chasing in the saddle when you were hoping for a resting day. They expected all the French riders, of course, to attack because they have won the race on Bastille Day 29 times. If you count the 2 final victories, Bastille Day fell on the last day of the Tour de France twice, and that was won by Lucien Aymar and Jacques Anquetil. So we could give them 31 victories on Bastille Day. Long thin lines as we look across the harvest already been reaped there, drying out. Alessandro Ballan, the man in the break here. Watch out for him, he's 26, he's a very good finisher. Had 1 win this year. There he is doing a lot of work on the front. He's had 3rd in Paris-Roubaix and 5th in the Tour de Flanders this year. But I don't think that means a thing to Floyd Landis. We're passing the sunflowers now as well. This is the region of France where the sun rarely goes in, except when we all go to bed. See you in just a moment.
If you missed any of OLN's new hit series, consider this your lucky break. It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout Marathon with all 6 episodes rack to rack. Watch as the world's greatest shooters battle it out for the richest purse in the history of the sport. But if they want to survive to the final round, they'd better bring their 8 game. The IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout Marathon. Tuesday, July 25th at 6 Eastern, only on OLN.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Give your engine what it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil.
So what do you need? I just bought a boat. I have no idea.
Hang on.
New boat owners program. Free stuff?
Yep.
Discounts, huh?
You bet.
Advice, too?
Yeah, you'll need it.
West Marine. We've got everything a boater needs.
That's a lot of stuff.
Wish shaving didn't take so long? Well, now it doesn't have to. Introducing the Beard Reaper 8000.
Oh my, looks sharp.
It is razor sharp.
Oh my.
There are smarter ways to save time. Sign up for Comcast high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. At ridiculously quick speeds, it's way faster than DSL and dial-up. Sign up today and get professional installation. Just call 1-800-COMCAST. Comcast high-speed internet. It's Comcastic.
Hi, it's me, Mike Rowe, host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs with the good news. Shark Week is back.
And now, Comcast invites you to experience Shark Week online, on demand, and on the Discovery Channel. Plus, for a limited time, receive a special Shark Week gift, free when you subscribe to service from Comcast. And don't miss Shark Week all week, coming July 30th to the Discovery Channel.
Welcome back to the Sunshine Tour this year. We had one shower of rain the whole way on the road to Lorient. Other than that, we haven't seen any rain. Allez le Tour 2006. Let's go, the Tour 2006. And there was a man who probably rode it in 1903. This is the 4-man breakaway, still clear, but it's coming down slightly. Jaroslav Popovic, Oscar Freire, Alessandro Ballan, Christophe Lemervel. The pack there, they were over 4 minutes. Look, it's down to 3:50 just now. The work being done only by the Swiss team Phonak, who are surrounding the yellow jersey. Floyd Landis there, keeping him in a safe place. Floyd not working more than he has to. Most important at this stage, this has got to be a recovery couple of days for Landis after the great battle of the Pyrenees, because the Alps are even harder. There's 3 very tough days in the Alps to come. So those guys with intention have got to look after themselves over these what we call transient stages. Ricardo Rico, he's having a rest already. Look, 202 is max, beating at a mere 121. And pedaling along on the flats at the moment, 51 kilometers an hour. Now this race running just on 12 minutes ahead of best expected time today. Well, I was just looking at the sky there, Paul. It was looking that might, as often happens in the region, if it gets too hot, then the sky explodes and then down comes quite a heavy storm. At the moment, it's not previewed for today, and that's what we'll have to hope doesn't happen. At the finishing line, we've had a display by the French Air Force. And the crowd here in Carcassonne, we haven't been here for a long time to Carcassonne for a finish. It's not an easy finish. I thought it would be better for a breakaway than to race around the town square in a whole peloton. It's very difficult. The route itself, all the hills behind us now, just one sprint to come, which I'm sure Oscar Freire will have an interest in when he gets there.
Well, the important thing is once you get down to the end, it does get slightly flatter. And the only difficult thing on the run in towards the finish is the wind, which will get up to around about 20 kilometers an hour. And that's in between the small town of Montréal, or Montreal if you like, and Carcassonne. And of course, once the riders get into the outskirts of town, that is when the temperature will be that much higher. It'll be 32 degrees Celsius. That's what they say it's going to be in the latter part of the afternoon. But that, if you put it into old figures, is over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reflected heat at the moment out on the road is up at around about 120.
Well, there's the VIPs for French television just leaving the Palmier airfield and getting up towards the front end of the race. That's the way to travel in style on the Tour de France. Very often there are so many helicopters in the sky carrying various dignitaries. You think there were 2 races going on. These are the 4 leaders. The crowds have returned to the roads of France today after our visit to Spain. 38 miles is what's left to go. Now, the way they're racing, 38 miles is not going to be much more than an hour and 25 minutes. So we've got to watch this. There's Popovic smiling there.
Well, he'd be happy about the way the race has unfolded. I had a quick word with Rolf Sorensen, a Danish rider ex-rider who actually wore the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. He rode the last 25 kilometers into town this afternoon, and he said it will be very fast indeed. He said, I'm not very fit these days. He's been retired for a couple of seasons, but he said he was riding at an average speed himself of 45 kilometers an hour. That's how strong the tailwind is.
Well, that's good news for everybody. An early finish on what is a long day of cycling, because it's over 211 kilometers today. And tomorrow we are similarly blessed, but it's a massive day tomorrow at 230. One or two of the riders complaining that the program is a little bit rough this far south and in these sort of conditions. There's the tournesols, or the sunflowers. They all turn the same way and look at the sun.
And it's a very typical view of the Tour de France, one that we've got used to over the last few years. There you can just start to see a number of De Vitamont Lotto riders moving to the front. I saw Robbie McEwen a few moments ago go to the back. I think he was going to have a little bit of a negotiation with the team management to see if they could start chasing coming up to the latter part of this race, because Robbie obviously wants to pull this back. He's probably itching right now because he's had to suffer like everybody else in the gruppetto at the back of the race. In fact, he and Stuart O'Grady came in just 2 minutes inside the elimination time yesterday, but now they're back on the flat. It's Robbie McEwen's favourite terrain.
All right, well, Robbie's going to be concerned. He knows that Frère up front will probably win the stage, and he'll lose his green jersey if they don't catch him. And that's what they all calculate, as the average speed today has been tremendous, just on under 3.5 hours of racing. This is a good day for Floyd Landis in yellow, though. He's under no direct pressure. Jaroslav Popovic at 9 minutes behind him. He's closing in a little bit. A bit early to get worried just yet. Anyway, as we look down at the little transponder on the chainstay, let's remind ourselves that OLN very shortly will become known as Versus, because in September we change our name. And then we'll bring you exclusive events that, just like the Tour de France, the America's Cup, there'll be the Davis Cup tennis, there'll be boxing, the PBR, and it's the only place, of course, where you find weekly national coverage of the NHL. The network for athletes, for fans, for the sportsmen, anyone in fact who's up for the challenge. This September, note the difference. OLN becomes Versus. These 4 riders are against each other right now, but for a while they're going to have to stay the best of friends. They need the effort from each and every one of them as they race towards Carcassonne. The hills are behind them now. The Sound of Music can stay there as well as they race towards Mirepoix, which is the next point on the road for the only remaining sprint of the day. And Frère will try to grab the 6 green jersey points there. And if he gets those and then goes on to win the stage, tonight he steps up and takes the green jersey off Robbie McEwen. And McEwen desperately wants to chase, but the green light from the team management not yet been given. There they are, and they are flying today around just under 50 kilometers an hour. They've picked up a very strong tailwind. It does catch the wind in this region. Well, it's so hot, the people are rather grateful that it does, in fact. They're racing towards the 12th century medieval city of Carcassonne, and this is one of the most Roman historic places of France. Just looking here at the top of the Rabobank team, looks like Theo de Roy driving. He'll be looking for Oscar Freire. Rabobank enjoying a great tour because they had a win in the mountains with Nedjoff yesterday. We'll take a break. See you in a moment.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Alan Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
Here's to men.
to guys who want to take longer drives with fewer pit stops, to guys who want to spend less time in the men's room and more time fishing. And here's to Flomax. It's approved to treat male urinary symptoms due to BPH, also called an enlarged prostate. In 1 week, Flomax may help symptoms like going often, going urgently, weak stream, frequently waking up at night to go. For you, Flomax could make a difference in 1 week. Ask your doctor if symptoms are from BPH, not prostate cancer. Common side effects of Flomax are runny nose, dizziness, and decrease in semen. Upon standing, a sudden decrease in blood pressure may occur, rarely resulting in fainting. So when starting Flomax, avoid situations where injury could result. For more information, call 877-4FLOMAX. Ask your doctor about Flomax. Flomax could make a difference in 1 week.
My new razor with 5 blades in it didn't seem much different than my old razor with 4 blades in it. But when I started using new Edge Active Care shaving cream, things really did change. Like my skin, which feels so much healthier now. New Edge Active Care shaving cream. It changed my life. I'm not kidding. My life.
Welcome back, and this is our Trek aerial view today as we look down on the medieval little towns. This is actually a church completely chipped out of a solid piece of rock in the 10th century, and it still stands proudly over the Tour de France route today as the riders race towards Carcassonne. There's the field, and all of the teams finding their mates today, because in the front you've got the block of Phonak right behind. The man who's second overall, Dessel's got his AG2R team. I see that Leipheimer's brought up his Gerolsteiner team now. There's Bogart come up. It looks as though there might be a change in the offing here now because they're getting a bit worried about the progress of Jaroslav Popovic. And Bogart chatting here with Axel Merckx. But they'll be talking in Flemish, well, Dutch anyway, because they both speak similar languages, Dutch and Flemish. There's the breakaway. Unfortunately for the Frenchman, Lemaivel, I think he's on a hiding to nothing today. He's outnumbered 3-1. He's probably the worst sprinter of the 4 of them. As the 4 riders are heading up towards the sprint. So watch out for Oscar Freire here now, because Oscar needs these 6 points. And when the word gets back that Oscar has got the 6 points for the green jersey, then he knows if Freire wins the stage, he loses green. And he's going to have to chase him down. There's Freire on the left, having a great Tour de France. He's never won 2 stages in a Tour de France before, until this year, won at Caen, and then won an absolute humdinger of a sprint down in Dax. That was a great win. He took it well. So as we head up towards the sprint, we won't miss it, of course. Oscar Freire will be sharpening his sprinting legs. We'll have a look now at our Lance On, brought to you by Nike.
Frenchman wins on Bastille Day, he's the big hero.
It's Bastille Day here in France this afternoon, and it's a Frenchman who's going to win.
I'll never forget my first years. I didn't even know what that was, Bastille Day, but then they said, no, it's like 4th of July. I was like, okay, I got it. But they come out with like the color of the hair, they change their handlebar tape, the blue, white, and the red. It's a big deal. And then, of course, if somebody beats a French dude on Bastille Day, then they're like public enemy #1.
Indeed. Today's Lance On brought to you by the Nike 10-2 collection, inspired by the man himself. Learn more about Lance and 10-2 at wearyellow.com. Bastille Day. The French riders have won on Bastille Day for the last 2 years on a hat-trick today, if they can do it. Moncoutier and Richard Veronk. But I'm not so sure the odds are in their favour right now, because Christophe Lavelle in the breakaway isn't up to those three with him. 4 minutes and 4 seconds. It's yo-yoing, but basically it's pinned now. That is the game for the day.
I think they've got it locked in. They feel comfortable with 4 minutes. Of course, they don't want to bury themselves, because they've got to do this fill again tomorrow and the next day. They've got to try and dose their effort over the next 2 or 3 days before we get then up into the Alpine stages. Robbie McEwen in the green jersey there, not very happy with the situation, because Oscar Freire is a serious threat, because we've seen Freire actually get over a couple of the mountains in the mountain stages, and he will be looking at getting points once we get into the Alps, and that is a big threat to Robbie, who's looking here at trying to take the green jersey competition for a third time.
Well, we're just 4 kilometres, maybe slightly inside now from the last sprint of the day at Mirepoix, and that is the one that Freire wants. And as I say, once the news gets back to the peloton that Freire has won that sprint and taken 6 green jersey points, I don't think Robbie will be able to contain himself, because he knows then a win for Freire means a green jersey.
Well, it actually threw you a bit of a red herring there, because of course that's assuming Robbie doesn't finish in the top 25, and I'm sure Robbie will lead the main field home, because there are enough points for Oscar Freire to take the overall lead, but of course that's assuming Robbie McEwen doesn't get a place in the sprint, and that is not very likely to happen. But what it will do is it'll close the gap dramatically between Oscar Freire and Robbie McEwen if this situation remains the same.
So a chance then for him to keep the situation. As it was, it 25 riders?
It's 20 riders, and it's 35 points for the first riders to cross the line. But I'm pretty sure that Oscar Freire will be looking at the six points just coming up now. Peter Vrolik, who rides for Team Gerolsteiner in the main field, is available to reach a maximum heart rate of 189. He's currently riding at 115. He's in the main field, who are charging along at about 47 kilometers an hour. So if you're in the main field today and you can find the right place to shelter from the wind, then you can have a reasonably easy ride.
Which is what they want, of course, the riders.
Merci.
Welcome.
Come back in 2007.
Well, next year, of course, the Tour de France will be setting off on its long journey round France from the city of London in England. They'll spend the prologue and a one-day racing to Canterbury, and then they'll transfer to Europe or to France, but they haven't revealed the rest of the route yet. That will come in October this year. 4 minutes 02. All the yellow jersey, orange jersey of Euskaltel Escardi lost their leader yesterday. Iban Mayo abandoned for 2 days. He never looked like doing much, and he climbed off yesterday, which was a big shock. There's the 4 leaders just working together, looking at the computer. They are now about 3 kilometers from the actual sprint point. Four lonely riders down there. 4:15 is the gap, just short of Mirepoix, and that's the last sprint of the day. And Oscar Freire here will want that. He looks pretty cool and collected, wearing the rainbow jersey around the cuffs of his racing jersey, indicating he was a world champion. In fact, he's won the world title 3 times, the only man currently racing who's done that.
No, he's an incredible athlete. He's been dogged throughout his career by an awful lot of injuries. 1 kilometre to go to the sprint now. Oscar Freire in the ideal position at the back of the group. I don't think anybody in this group field really has the ability to sprint as well as Oscar Freire, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem for him to get maximum points.
One thing's for sure, he sat at the back here. He will do it. The others aren't really interested, and they, of course, aren't going to really race hard against him because they're thinking of the finish. 49 kilometres to go. It was, our computer just suddenly corrected itself there. It was just over a kilometre out with the race course. But anyway, it's right now as it lines up behind Balan. Balan can sprint. Oscar Freire going through. Is Popovic going to have a go? I don't think he's interested in 6 seconds. I would doubt it.
No, he's not really interested. I think the most important thing for Popovic today is time to try and pull back 4 or 5 minutes if he can, and possibly think about a podium position when this race gets up to Paris, because I still think there's going to be another major sort out when we get to the Alps.
Well, just keep an eye on the man in 3rd place now, because I think he's timed it so it'll be his turn at the front when they get to the line. There may not even be a sprint. He may just go past and just snatch those valuable points, setting himself up for the green jersey today if it worked out, and maybe tomorrow if it doesn't. There's the banner, and there goes Oscar Freire. So 6 points in the bag. Send that message back to the peloton. Freire, Balin and Lemervel across the line.
Well, it won't change his position as we speak, but he will move just that little bit closer to Robbie McEwen, and he's now currently just 1 point behind Tom Bonin.
Worth remembering as well, Tom. There's the lovely crowd here in Mirepoix. There's the result, 6-4 and 2. Frère, Ballon and Lemaivel. They get the same points as they also get in bonus seconds, but we're talking minutes these days. There's the latest situation. McEwen got 217, but Frère are now at 187, and there's 35 for the win today, which would give him 218 points. 4 minutes 15 the gap. That's about as high as it's ever been, so let's hope that the chase starts pretty soon, because they're also concerned about Popovic. And don't forget, the Tour de France coverage will continue on ONL, and join us tomorrow as the sprinters will be out looking for a win. Of course, it's basically another flat stage in the Hotlands, taking us to Montélimar. Watch it tomorrow at stage 13. It begins live at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 a.m. on the West Coast. Follow the journey of the men, who will be king through July 23rd with us on OLN, right to the finish a week on Sunday. The 9-man group of Phonak in charge of the peloton here. They're going to start lifting this pace. They're going to look for other riders to come and give them a hand as well as they start to get nearer the finish. There's no more prizes along the way, and we gradually go down to not far above sea level as we race into Carcassonne. Right now we're coursing between the sunflowers as we search for the medieval city. See you in a moment.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 Sport Sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 Sport Sedan for under $27,000.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorp are down south for an invigorating winter break. With temperatures as high as -30, it's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
The drama of the last major of the season is on TNT. It's the 88th PGA Championship. One last shot at glory. Defending champion Phil Mickelson is shooting for a repeat at historic Medina Country Club. But Tiger, VJ, and the best in the world will be challenging for the title. Live coverage begins Thursday, August 17th, only on TNT.
Welcome back. The American in yellow today, Floyd Landis, the 5th American ever to wear the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. And he's nicely installed at the front of this big group of cyclists here now, which are racing through the streets of Mirepoix. They've just gone through the point place where they were, in fact, timed 4 minutes and 5 seconds behind the front 4 riders. and that's about as big as it's been. So now they're going to have to start to bring it back, because overnight Jaroslav Popovic was 9 minutes behind. He's got almost half. Another 5 minutes and he'll be up into Landis's yellow jersey. And you've got to remember that Floyd will not want to throw that jersey away, certainly not to Team Discovery. Well, this has been a great day for Floyd. Those are the men he's hunting down at the moment. He can expect all of these. Let's have our AT&T yellow jersey moment. And it is, of course, Floyd Landis, because he was on fire yesterday. He attacked himself. Other riders here tried to control him. Michael Rogers got his dinner spoilt there. And then they, one by one, they dropped off the back. Landis is still there. Leipheimer and in the front, Menchov got the better of him in the sprint. He finished on the line in the same time, good enough to be the leader of the Tour de France. He's pulled on the yellow jersey. Well, that's our focus of today, the AT&T yellow jersey moment. And there's a few more stats on him. 30 years of age, Floyd. You know he's about to have a hip replacement operation, but I think it's not going to affect him racing again next year. He's the overall leader now of the Tour de France for the first time in his career. 2 years ago, of course, he was riding at the side of Lance Armstrong. Now he's the leader of his own team and doing a pretty good job, to say the least. This is the beauty of the department now of the Aude. And we might see the river a little later on as we race towards Carcassonne. So the peloton, the length of it tells us everything. They're being stretched out. First it's the Team Phonak, then it's Team AG2R, then it looks like Team Rabobank. It's not often you see that, Paul. The top three riders overall have put the three teams in a line.
Well, they're all staying at the front end of the main field because they've probably got the word from the team managers that there's going to be a rather savage cross tailwind on the last 30 kilometers, and that will push the pace up a lot, and it will also be dangerous because you'll have a lot of riders trying to find a comfortable part of the main field, and they're all obviously very worried about a crash. I'm not sure whether or not Robbie McEwen is going to get his team to come to the front, because Gerrit Stegemans I saw just a few moments ago sitting at the back end of the peloton, and for that reason they may well decide to have a day off, because I think after all of the work that De Vitaman did in the first 10 days of the Tour, their riders are starting to pay for it.
Well, it's a double-header today. De Vitaman and Lotto have got two riders, one capable of winning the Tour de France in Cadel Evans, one capable of winning the Green Points jersey in Robbie McEwen. Now, if Frère wins, he gets 35 points. The best McEwen can hope for is a 5th place finish, so he'll lose a little bit of ground. And also, Frère has won 6 points on the course. But they're caught a little bit between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. Now, the Landis boys here, at the moment, a 9-minute deficit for Popovic. He's now taken back 4 minutes. He is now up to around about 10th in the Tour de France. And every pedal rev can move him up a place, so he's also a danger.
Well, he's a dangerous rider who you can't dismiss. You can't give him a handicap like this, pulling time back, because he's the kind of rider who could bounce back completely when the race goes into the Alps. And as we said, Phil, since the start, this is going to be a strange tour. It's been a strange tour, and I think it will continue in that sort of line of attack.
Let's hope so. It's been a very interesting tour. Oscar Frere's having a great Tour de France. He never really would have expected this. 2-stage wins, and if this goes to the line, 3-stage wins.
Well, theoretically, he's the fastest man in this leading group of 4, but he will have a very hard fight on his hands with Alessandro Ballan. Ballan is an experienced rider. He rode very well in the start of the year, finished in the top 10 in 3 of the one-day classics, and just outside of the top 10 in another one, because he was 11th in the Amstel Gold Race. So he's had a solid start to the season. He will see this as a good chance to get Italy the win.
And will be desperate to stop Frère, because Bernardi's also a green jersey, and that's his teammate in the competition there. 4:10 is the gap. Our computer is resting at the moment, telling us nothing about the Tour de France, but we can see 4 leaders leading by 4 minutes 10 seconds. And there is Floyd Landis enjoying his yellow bike with the team all around him, including Axel Merckx there. Then Cyril Dessel lying 2nd overall in the Tour de France. As the field now make their way towards the finish is closing in, and the gap at the moment, I have to say, is opening up. So this could be a very interesting last hour of racing. See you in a moment.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Because you do more. It does too. Live life to the ultra.
So, tell me in your own words a little bit about Geico.
Well, it's one-stop shopping, really, Geico.com. You can get a free rate quote, you could compare coverage options, you could file a claim, pay your bill online, even, have a little chat with an associate if you need help.
What about you? Can they chat with you?
I'm here for Geico, love. Let's not delve into my personal life, eh?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Nobody knows your car like you do. Nobody knows what it needs like we do. Before my wipers streak or my belt start to squeak, I know I'm gonna catch it on time. To fix it right, take what I know. Just one quick stop to AutoZone.
AutoZone has the people, parts, and advice it takes to stop trouble before it starts.
Nobody knows your car like you do. Nobody knows what it needs like we do. Nobody knows your car like you do. Nobody knows what it needs like we do. AutoZone.
Is the IRS stalking you? Do you feel like you're at the end of your rope? Stop the harassment now.
Hello, I'm John Harris, president of J.K. Harris & Company. The people who negotiate for our clients are former IRS agents and tax professionals. They've helped our clients save millions of dollars. They know how to make the system work for you.
Call the IRS experts at J.K. Harris now for your free confidential tax settlement analysis.
Call 800-875-8195.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Live life to the ultra.
Looking at the workhorses of the Tour de France today, this is Robbie Hunter of South Africa, the only South African on the race, and he's always close to the race leader now, Floyd Landis. He looked after him earlier when he didn't have the race lead. Now he's paying even more attention. Axel Merckx stretching his legs there. But there are signs that there is change afoot here because the lead has gone out to 4 minutes 16 seconds, and Popovic is now a top 10 contender in the Tour de France again, and that might be the message others are going to have to help the Phonak team chase. Michael Rogers coming forth there with another rider from T-Mobile, and I've seen the World Championship bands of Tom Bonan, who yet might want to win the stage here today. There's the peloton, all enjoying a very fast tailwind, which is keeping them something like 45.5 miles an hour average today. The wind coming slightly cross from the back there, but blowing very, very hard indeed. Well, let's have a look at our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes, olntv.com/fly to the finish. And the word you need today on July the 14th is Bastille Day. The French will celebrate this on the Champs-Élysées today, and then they'll leave all the grandstands in position for the arrival of the Tour de France a week on Sunday. So looking at the clock, see 62 kilometers an hour, 39 miles an hour this breakaway riding. 24 miles to go, Paul. This breakaway is riding at 39 miles an hour with this tailwind just now. We'll be home before we know it.
They'll be flying into town. It's a precarious run into town as well, because we actually circumnavigate the city, and there's about 15 left-hand corners in the last 4 kilometers. It's going to be a bit precarious if it is a main field. I noticed that Tom Bonan had moved to the front. I wonder if Tom Bonan is going to ask his men to come forward, because if they want to catch those guys, they have to start now. You can see, in fact, just a quick glimpse at the front end of the main field. Eric Zabel has sent some riders to the front. This is Eric just riding a little bit further to the back of the group. But he too has got an interest in trying to pull it back together, because Eric, despite his 36 years of age, rode beautifully through the Pyrenees, never really under pressure. And of course, he'll be looking for a win, because one day he knows he'll pop up with one.
Well, everybody would simply go ballistic, I think, if they saw Eric win a stage. There'd be so much behind him, such a nice character, and he tries every day. He's a total bike riding enthusiast, and when he retires, he'll ride his bike every day, I'm sure of that. Well, we'll see how he goes today. He did have a marvellous ride through those 2 days in the Pyrenees, because he's not a climber. There's the man he has sent up to the front now.
Well, you can see this is a sensible tactical ride once again by the team of the leader. This time the leader is Floyd Landis. What they did was they basically pegged that advantage at around about the 4-minute mark, because they knew once we came down to the last hour of racing, they would get some assistance from the sprinters teams. I see Tom Bowden hasn't sent anybody forward. I think a lot of his riders too are quite tired after the work they did in the first week, because they, after all, also defended the yellow jersey on Tom's shoulders.
Well, that was Christian Knies of Germany, who just did a little turn at the front. He's ridden very well on a long breakaway about 3 days ago on the road to Po. Didn't work out for him then. On the road to Dax, I'm sorry, not Po. And Peloton at 4:33, Paul. It's 37 kilometers to go. It's time.
It's time to really turn up the screws, but these guys have got the advantage today of picking up this cross tailwind, which will assist them after all of the work they've put in so far. And if they can keep their speed up to the 45, 48 kilometers an hour mark for the last hour of racing, it'll be very difficult for the main field to pull them back.
Well, if they haven't got inside 4 minutes and we get another 5 or 6 kilometers down the road, I would suggest they're not going to catch this breakaway.
Well, the main field is starting to turn up the screws now. Look at that long line of riders coming out of the back. They're all scrambling. The pressure being put out by Cedric Vasseur is still not that great, around about 59% stress level for him. He's generating about 237 watts, which is normal for a flat stage. You go up to 300 or 400 watts output when you get into the big mountains, and even over 450 if you look at a big time trial effort. So Cedric Vasseur having a fairly easy ride. He's a rider who rides on the Quick Step squad, and that's the team, of course, of Tom Boonen. Boonen was very attentive at the front, but I'm wondering whether or not they'll have a hard time bringing back these 4 riders, because these 4 riders are no average riders. They're certainly not no-hopers. Christophe Muller-Mervel there, Phil, is probably the least experienced, and he's actually already won a stage of the Giro d'Italia 12 months ago. The other riders, they're all top pros.
Well, as we look at the leaders here, and the pack is now chasing, I can tell you at the finishing line here, we are hitting the 100 mark. It's just a shade under. It's 99 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment at the finish line. Absolutely sweltering, but the reflected heat coming off the road is now 122 degrees. It's a scorcher. The good thing about cycling, though, Paul, is the wind does keep you cool. It's the spectators I always feel sorry for.
Well, that's the theory of it, but unfortunately in this part of France, these next 3 days that we will race through, the air here is so hot that you don't have that chill factor when you're going through, because there's a high humidity down here as well. And I remember racing in these parts of France. It really is horrendous.
Yes, it reminds me of Andrew Taffy when he was racing in the Tour down under Australia in the Barossa Valley. He said he descended with his mouth open and he felt as though he was inside an oven. Well, the gap is still going up here, and there should be concern. We're approaching 4.5 minutes now. Something like 22 miles or so to go to the finishing line. And these boys are still pulling away. I don't think they're going to get caught now at all. And I'm just wondering whether they will throw much more into that chase. They should be worried about the gains of Popovic at this point. He's got half of his overnight deficit back.
Well, clever move by Johan Brunel. Announced to the world in the newspapers this morning. So, well, that's it. It's all over for Team Discovery. We're just riding for stages. But he's actually possibly riding Popovic back into a position here where he could get himself onto the podium. And it's tough at the back.
Absolutely. Well, there's the main field as they've got this steady ride. And look at this now. It has broken up here. This is a split because they've suddenly changed direction. The wind has ripped through the middle of that peloton. And this is the result. You get riders caught off the back, and then they're suddenly got a fight on their hands to rejoin. It is not easy at 50 kilometers an hour. Now, as always, OLNTV.com puts you in the middle of the Tour de France, just like we did then. Get instant and exclusive access to daily videos from our team of experts, along with the news flashes, the standings, the podcasts, and behind-the-scenes blogs. It's all there for you. That's OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France. There's Tom Bonen in his rainbow jersey, and he's a wise man to have moved up to the front here now, because these boys are just about on their limit. Top end speed of over 50 kilometers an hour. The wind is tail to cross. It's a horrible wind. You think, oh, it's a tailwind, we'll have a great ride. It is the wind that can do terrible damage, because you can't pedal any faster, and if you are in any difficulty at all, it will take you straight off the back of the group. And obviously that big bunch of riders we've just seen has got a problem. There are the four leaders. They're also picking up this 50-kilometer wind, and at the moment they are pulling away. And this is a huge effort here by Thomas Volker, who got caught off the back and is just about going to get down. You see the referees have left the gaps now, and if you have a flat tyre, they don't leave those car gaps. They allow you to nip in and out the cars. But this is only the neutral service left here. Every other service car is behind that group of riders back down the road, so it's a hard journey to get back up. So there we are, out for a little gallop in the department of the Aude, as the Tour de France, splitting at the back end, is racing by. Well, when we come back from our break, we'll have another look at the man that made this big jump up the classification last night, and that is Levi Leipheimer. He is back in the big time. That's after the break. Stay with us on the Tour de France.
For 7 years, one man ruled the roads of France. But now, his reign has ended, and the battle for his throne is about to begin. Who can follow a legend and create his own? Who can conquer the mountains and blaze through the triumph? Tomorrow live at 8:30 a.m., only on OLN.
Lance Armstrong is not a cyclist. He is a leader. He uses all that he has accomplished to lead an army of cancer survivors and to give hope to everyone fighting the disease everywhere. What do you hope to accomplish? Your goals are our goals. American Century Investments. Invest in what matters.
Give your engine what it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil.
He's actually riding away from the rest of them on his Cervelo bike, and you know, it just shows you how strong a team CSC are this year.
This is the best win of his career. Frank Schleck of Team CSC takes the Amstel Gold. What a fantastic performance.
Hi, it's me, Mike Rowe, host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs, with the good news. Shark Week is back.
And now, you can watch an exclusive uncut Shark Week premiere, behind-the-scenes footage, and extra bonus material, including the best Shark Week episodes from years past. With Comcast On Demand, dive into Shark Week this summer on the Discovery Channel.
Saturday, July 15th on Oxygen, Monique is back with the biggest beauty revolution ever. If you want to live large, enter Monique's Fat Chance Sweepstakes.
Log on to oxygen.com for your chance and win big.
The lucky grand prize winner and a guest will fly to L.A., experience a one-of-a-kind beauty boot camp, and have dinner with Monique.
Watch Monique's Fat Chance on Comcast.
Call today to get the $49.99 a month for 3 months.
Yes, welcome back to the Tour. Denny Menchoff got the big victory on the Queen stage of the Pyrenees yesterday, but it was the two Americans, Leipheimer and Landis, who probably took most out of the race. A return to form of Levi Leipheimer, a yellow jersey awaited Floyd Landis. Today we're heading from Luchon to Carcassonne, a massive distance and not even as far as it is tomorrow. The peloton is now cracking under the pressure of the being applied by Phonak at the front. There's the flatlands of the department of the Aude. It's a gap now which is just about being held at 4:25, but you know, with 31 kilometers to go, it's going to be a pretty tough chase now, and I don't think they'll want to do that chase to bring those 4 riders back. But for France, only one rider here. That's the rider in green, Christophe Lemaivel. And unlucky for him, but he's probably only number 3 in the sprinting order if it goes down to the line. He will have to attack and hope he can go alone. It's the only way he's going to win today. Popovic sitting at the back here now with the most to gain at 4:25. He's recovered half of his 9 minutes deficit, more or less. So he climbs up into being a top 10 contender again in the Tour de France at the moment. But as we look at this huge crowd here as we continue our journey, let's have a look now at one man who's had a brilliant day in the Tour de France yesterday. I'm talking about Levi Leipheimer, and he's the focus of today's athlete profile, brought to you by Hampton Hotels.
Levi can definitely podium in the Tour de France.
Yes, Levi Leipheimer is very strong right now. I've been training with him quite a bit. He's also putting all his baskets into the Tour de France.
He has the package. He can time trial. He can climb. He has proven that he can win big races.
American cyclist Levi Leipheimer ended his perfect preparation to this year's Tour de France by winning the Dauphiné Libéré in June, becoming the first American to win since Lance Armstrong in 2003. Levi now hopes to follow in the wheel marks of his former teammate as he enters his 5th Tour de France.
At this level of trying to be one of the best in the Tour de France, it's just a ton of little details that add up and make you that 1% better. Working on the physical side, the mental side, and just being one year stronger, 1 year more experienced, that's really what counts. I think you see yourself as being one of the best riders at the Tour de France, and you sort of come to accept that and to visualize yourself being there, and that makes a big difference.
From preparation and through consistency, Leipheimer now turns his attention to his season goal, the Tour de France. The American's objective is a top 3 placing, but he now knows that the competition will be a lot harder in a Grand Tour.
I think that for me to be on the podium is possible. I don't know if I could call myself the clear favorite to win. Obviously that's not plausible, because I haven't been in on the podium before, and it's a little bit hard to just go from 6th place to 1st place. I mean, I've done enough tours to know that. I certainly believe that if things went well, I could be there.
And today's athlete profile brought to you by Hampton Hotels. And yes, he's back in the big time after a brilliant ride yesterday in the Pyrenees. He's 32 now, Levi. Just the right way to scuttle up mountains at 137 pounds. We've seen his strength as a climber yesterday. We want to see him come back as a time trialist on the penultimate day of this year's Tour de France, because he still has an outside chance of a podium finish in Paris after that ride yesterday. All right, well, we're back into the beautiful medieval buildings that abound in this area of the Aude as we're running into the last few kilometers now of today's stage, and the peloton are in a spot of bother together. Just looking at the beautiful monastery there, Paul. This is the situation with the 4 riders. Time to get on some water, I think. This is the back of the field here. 4:27 is the gap, and it's not going to happen, is it?
I was going to say it's a question of how much time they will conserve, but if Team Phonak now don't take responsibility, it's how much time will they gain, because they have stretched out 15 or 20 seconds. That was because we saw the sprinters come forward and start to organize the chase, and then when they saw that they weren't eating into that advantage, they said, well, that's it, we're not going to do it today, we'll leave it up to Team Phonak again. And it's now all up to Floyd Landis's team to do the major part of the work on the main field. That group containing Gilberto Simoni now may well just get back into the field. That's Simoni there in 2nd position. Sandy Cassar in this group. Also one of the riders from Team Gerolsteiner got caught out as well. Stegeman's there. You can actually almost see by his position how much he's suffering.
Well, these boys now are not going to get back today. 27 kilometers to go, so shortly we'll see that 25 to go banner. If that isn't a signal to the peloton to chase, I think even when they do chase now, they're not going to pull back 4.5 minutes as they run into the finish. And there the leaders getting the good news. Yaroslav Popovic is the man who's going to really go well today, because he's a lot to make up for, you know. He was 3:27 behind on stage 9, then he dropped back to 24th at 7:12 on 10, then back to 9 minutes on stage 11 when he's sitting in 23rd place. So it hasn't been much of a progressive move for him until today. And today he'll be back in the top 10 of the Tour de France with these gains.
If it stops at this level here at 4.5 minutes, and that's what he will be hoping for. He will ride his heart out, because for him that's probably what he's thinking about. I think at the front in the leading group of 4 they're pretty much resigned to the fact that Oscar Freire is the fastest rider, but they'll have to try and figure out how to beat him.
Well, Ricardo Rico's graph today is showing us his heart beating at 145 minutes, which is a very good percentage of his 202 max today. So he's not under any pressure. He must be somewhere in the centre of this peloton here.
Well, in the main field on a day like this, there is the chance of recuperating, and that's what a lot of riders, I think probably we'd have to say 95% of the field want to recuperate after what was a very difficult day in the Pyrenees yesterday.
You get some idea just how fast these boys are going today on good road surfaces, often protected by the trees that picked up this tail to crosswind, which is exactly what they want. The boys are working well here. Leipheimer having a great first day in yellow, no problems at all. He won't be over concerned with Popovic at the moment, because he's seen how he's climbing and it's not very well, but you never give a man too much of an advantage.
No, you don't let anybody steal time, because last year, let's not forget, Michael Rasmussen finished 4th overall in the Tour de France because of gaining a lot of time on one single stage where they didn't know who he was and they gave him a 10-minute lead. Same thing happened to Thomas Voeckler a couple of years ago as well.
So they're the 4 men out in front. 4:29, the latest gap. They've really been pulling away at every opportunity or being pegged, but they've not gone in reverse. And that at this stage of the race is brilliant, because there now is 25 kilometres to go. Oscar Freire is looking at his 3rd stage win here, and Christophe Lemaivel at the back has got to try and go alone to win this.
Well, that's what he has to do for France if he can. He's the rider in this leading group who has actually done the least work to the success of the breakaway. I think they might just hold on to inside of the 1 minute mark if they keep the race speeds going as they are at the moment. 53 seconds is what the computer is telling us. I might have just said that Michael Rasmussen finished 4th overall in the Tour, but he actually just plummeted from 3rd overall in the time trial down to 7th, I think, at the end of the Tour.
Yeah, that's right, because of that terrible time trial when he fell off and he had flat tyres and all sorts. Well, just remind you, at 24.5 kilometres to go, the leads are Alessandro Ballan, Oscar Freire, Popovic, Lemaivel. The man who's doing the big work is Ballan and Freire together. The man who's doing the least work, only 12% of the pacemaking, is Lemaivel. He's got a plan, and it's got to be to try and go alone.
Well, that's how he won a stage in the Giro d'Italia, if you remember, a couple of years ago. He was in a large breakaway of about 25 riders, and he took off towards the end.
Just look at this, slowing down for a roundabout here. The big peloton are queuing up to go round a traffic island, so that'll disrupt the chase as well here. So as we look out here, the beauty, this is Carcassonne. We're heading there at a high rate of speed today. I don't think they're going to catch those 4 leaders. How much will they win by? We'll be back.
Blue skies are the norm in the mountains when summer comes, and I'm on the trails every chance I get. Maybe more important than the weather is the gear I use to maximize my experience. I choose LL Bean gear. These can be long days. Over 90 years of boot-making experience goes into LL Bean's Cresta hiking boots. Boots so comfortable, I know I'll wear out long before my feet do. Mountain weather can change without warning, and when it does, I'm ready with my Mountain Storm system. I can put on the rugged jacket for protection against the wind and rain, just a soft shell if the weather's cool, or both for a warm, dry jacket in the worst weather. For a full day of hiking, I load up my award-winning Bigelow pack, and I know I can cover a lot of terrain in total comfort and with everything I need within easy reach. Products designed for durability and performance, sold directly to the consumer at a great price. Check out llbean.com or call 800-441-4913 to get a free catalog or ask an expert about any of LL Bean's gear.
LL Bean is the official outfitter of OLN's Tour de France broadcast team.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs. With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
To help get all the fruits and vegetables the USDA recommends, you could wear this. Or drink this. 1 8-ounce glass of Florida orange juice counts as almost 25% of your fruit and vegetable servings. Florida orange juice. Healthy, pure, and simple.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Al and Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean.
You're driving along. A car pulls in front of you. Another pulls alongside. And when the guy up front stops short, you rear-end him, just like he wanted. It's called a swoop and squat. And fraud like this can add hundreds of dollars a year to your insurance bills. It's why Allstate has a dedicated fraud team to track down criminals. Fighting fraud is just one of the ways Allstate helps keep your costs down. Another is accident forgiveness, and it starts the day you sign up. With accident forgiveness from Allstate, your rates won't go up just because of an accident, even if it's your fault. Does your current car insurance offer this protection?
Sign up for Your Choice Auto only from Allstate. Find out how you can start getting better protection in case of an accident and more rewards for driving safer. Call toll-free right now, 1-866-581-4800, and sign up for Your Choice Auto today.
It's time to make the world a better place to drive. That's Allstate stand. Are you in good hands?
Welcome back to the Tour de France. They are flying and they can't do anything about the breakaway at the moment. We're heading towards Carcassonne, a massive 212 kilometers. We haven't waited for anybody today. They are moving very quickly indeed. But the breakaway of 4 is either moving as quick or slightly quicker because they're not catching them at all today. The 9 minutes lost so far by Jaroslav Popovic of Team Discovery. He's halved the deficit now. He has come back into the Tour de France today, although if he climbs like he did in the Pyrenees, he'll drop out again when we get to the Alps. And that must be what Floyd Landis is hoping happens today, because they've not thrown their energy away trying to bring this group back. They're trying to have a rest at the same time as catch the leaders. 4 minutes 36 seconds. This is the word from the Team Discovery wagon here up to Jaroslav Popovic, and I'm sure Johan Brunel said this is the winning break.
Yep, he's obviously realised now what the situation is going to be. They know that the man who will do most of the pacemaking from here to the finish will be this man here in the orange on the far side there, because Oscar Freire is the fastest man. 2-stage victories so far in the Tour. He will be thinking this afternoon that he can notch up a third. This man will try and outfox him, Alejandro Balin. He's a very good sprinter, good one-day rider, and he will try and spoil the party. But the Frenchman here, Christophe Lemervel, in the green shorts of Crédit Agricole, he wants it for France on Bastille Day, but he's up here with some very experienced professionals.
Looking for the 20 kilometres to go, Banner now, just 12 miles of racing. Another nasty little climb. They call them coats here in France as they run at the edge of this one. Lemervel in green knows he's no match for Balin or for Freire, both behind him right now, so he's going to have to hang on and break away on his own. While we're looking here, he's setting the pace. He's not afraid to work now, but he has been the man who's done the least work in this breakaway. One man against 3 big hitters of the Tour de France, and he's the Frenchman, and it's Bastille Day.
That will be the extra motivation, but a few moments ago I just got a very close look at his shirt there, and it was covered in salt. And that's because of the immense amount of perspiration these riders have been producing this afternoon. That gap, by the way, down to the main field is now 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And it's 6 1/4 minutes back to Gilberto Simoni. So he's not enjoying his day in the south of France.
Well, Christophe Lemervel, his best ever win was the 16th stage of Verazzi of last year's Giro d'Italia. But today he'll be up against Oscar Freire, who's looking for green jersey points today. He got 6 earlier on. And he could well be up into second at least today as he gets points available. The top 25 riders, and I think it's quite a lot of points for the victory today as well.
Yeah, it's 35 points for a win on one of the flat stages. It goes down a lot when you go up into the mountains.
But with the second category climb at the start, I wonder if they call this one a flat stage. Anyway, worth checking the rules on that, Paul. We know at the end. I'm sure Oscar knows now. 20 kilometers to go to the line, and these 4 riders that broke away have been away for an awful long way now, but they were, despite the danger man of Jaroslav Popovic in blue, 9 minutes behind overnight, has now gained back 4 minutes 40 over Floyd Landis. Oscar Freire will work with him because he wants to win the stage and go very close in to challenging Robbie McEwen for his green jersey. Alessandro Bolan, he's a very good sprinter as well, and that's evidenced by his 3rd place finish this year in Paris-Roubaix. And Christophe Lemaivel, well, he's motivated by the fact it's Bastille Day. This is the back of the peloton, but I can tell you now that behind the peloton, quite a few riders have been split off in those crosswinds, including, funnily enough, the former Giro d'Italia winner on a couple of occasions. That's Gilberto Simoni. Everybody's crowding up behind the boys in lime green, but nobody is willing to help them chase, and it looks like they're all going to pay for it today.
Yep, it looks as if they are. They're actually having a hard time eating into this advantage, and they've picked up that very fast tailwind on the run-in down towards the finish. Oscar Freire, every time it slows down, Phil, you see him going to the front. He realizes he's got a very good chance here of getting himself win number 3.
Current gap, the board there said 4:31, I think, but by the time he gets up there, I think our timings which come at us on screen are a little bit more reliable because they're being taken from the GPS system. The faces of the boys who are riding at a steady 50 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I just quickly checked my rule book there. In fact, it is graded as an average mountain stage this afternoon, which I think is a bit steep because it's not really that hard at the start. But anyway, the race organizers have put it in as an average mountain stage, which means that there are actually 25 points available for the first rider to cross the line. So it's really fairly important.
Good news for Robbie McEwen today for sure. Peloton 4:26, 4 riders in the breakaway. Well, Jaroslav Popovic is in that breakaway. Johan Brunel, since today's start, has lost 2 men, but he was talking at the start today with Craig Hummer. I wonder what he had to say. Let's find out.
Johan, Discovery Channel has such a proud tradition. Now with the podium placings perhaps out of the question, what do you and the team have to do to salvage this tour and call it a success?
Well, I was just talking with the boys in the bus on what we have to do now, and we were recalling a little bit what we had done until now. And George almost won the prologue. He had the yellow jersey. We were very happy at that moment, but it seems already like it's 3 or 4 months ago. So from now on, you know, we have a certain prestige in this race. We have dominated the race for 7 years, of course, because we had the best rider of the race. But the other guys are still there and the same riders. And the stage win is the minimum we have to go for now.
Yes, indeed. Stage wins are all that's really left for Johan Brunel. He's never lost the Tour de France, but this year seems now he will. And he's got his man here he hoped to have won the Tour de France with, Jaroslav Popovic, in the breakaway. Jaroslav will have to think well to outwit the 2 sprinters there, though. The boy from Lampre, Balan, and the rider setting the pace with his head down is, of course, Oscar Freire. Freire's had 2 stage wins. He's looking for a 3rd. More importantly, he's looking for the points, which will run him up close to Robbie McEwen this night. And then tomorrow, who knows, he might even find himself riding along in the green jersey. It's Bastille Day. Even one Frenchman here might win. We'll find out.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
aerodynamic principles that keep a Saab jet in the air help the Saab 9.5 remain firmly on the ground. Introducing the new 260 horsepower Saab 9.5. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Take flight in the newly redesigned 9.5 sedan for under $35,000.
The Cordaid Challenge? Find a complete solution for poison ivy. New two-step Cordaid Poison Ivy Care. A scrub clinically proven to remove the toxin. And a spray to prevent the itch. It's science applied to your skin.
This summer, get the sunblock that also blocks the bite. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast Sunblock and Repellent. Up to 8-hour protection against harmful rays and pesky bites without the odor. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast. Block the burn and the bite.
This is sick! Help! I hate you! Stop smiling!
Blow me a kiss.
What are you, high?
You got nothing to worry about.
Get HBO on demand. It's the best thing to happen to TV since HBO.
What can you wear everywhere? Watch QVC for this multicolored cultured freshwater pearl strand from Honora. Featured at a special one-day price throughout the day, Friday, July 21st on QVC and QVC.com.
Welcome back. Well, they can't be blamed for going slowly today because the Peloton is absolutely flying along the road, picking up a very strong tailwind today, and even the sun is going in slightly, a bit overcast just now, but the heat, it is very, very hot and very humid for the Peloton today. But they are not making much of an impression. 4:20 is the current gap. 4 hours 20 minutes for a massive distance so far today. Average speed of 28.3 miles an hour. Now, Johan Brunel held the record on one occasion for the fastest ever stage in the Tour de France. I think he's lost it now. I think he's gone over to Mario Cipollini without getting my fact booked out. But that sort of speed of 28.3 is pushing the best stages ever, that's for sure. There is the world champion there, Tom Bonan. And little Ruggiano in the white jersey just near him there, running up on the inside of the camera. Continuing our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes, off you go to olntv.com/fly to the finish and check that out. Possibility of winning a Saab 97X or a Cervelo bicycle. The code word today is Bastille Day. Not far now for these riders. They're running into the last inside now, 13 kilometers to the finish in Carcassonne. Looking at the way these riders are working together, nobody is sort of hanging on at the back, Paul. They're all doing their regular little bit of pacemaking, taking a breathe at the back, getting on with the job in hand. They know now they're not going to be caught.
Well, now what they've got to think about is not consider the time advantage, because I'm sure they will lose a fair amount of time down towards the end. We're projecting a win time of around about 1 minute and 23. But if the main field doesn't keep the pressure on, they could conserve 2 or 3 minutes of this advantage. After all, let's not forget these projections are all coming by computer, and it all depends on how the legs are of the riders in Team Phonak.
I've made a note of that one because I want to see just how this computer does that. I know we are slightly nibbling away at seconds off the lead, but it's a very brave man to predict a victory by 1 minute 23. I'll check that out when they reach the line later. But it's 7.1 miles to go now, 11.7 kilometers. As the pack comes up towards the next sign, they'll see 15 kilometers to go here. Well, it puts our riders, doesn't it, 11.7, just about 3.3 kilometers ahead of the peloton today at the moment. And they're not going to close 3.3 kilometers in 15 kilometers.
Nope, absolutely not, because we've only got one team basically concerned here, and that's Team Phonak, the team of Floyd Landis. They're sitting on the front there. They're not chasing here, Phil. They're actually just setting what in professional cycling they call a false tempo, a tempo which is just high enough to hurt everybody's legs and nullify the possibility of any attacks. And they're just holding this breakaway at a standard distance of around about 4 minutes. It's not really gone anywhere for the last 80 kilometers.
Big long reach there of Alessandro Ballan. As we look out across the vineyards here at the 4 riders in the lead. Lemebel, by the way, is 25 and a half. He'll be 26 years of age in September this year. And he is a rider who knows what it's like to win reasonable stage races, but I'm not sure he's up to beating these sprinters today. And Oscar Freire will really... His win in Dax and his win in Caen were 2 well-taken sprint wins when he was against all the odds of the fast finishes. But against 3 men, surely he'll get this one right.
Well, in the actual straight sprint, he will almost certainly get it right. But the problem is it's not going to be quite that simple for him, because almost certainly somebody will try and jump him towards the end. And he will, being the fastest rider in the group, have to chase them down. And as soon as he's made that first move and chased somebody down, then another person will go. And they will keep attacking him one at a time as they run down towards the finish, because the only way for them to beat him is to get away from him.
10 kilometers to go for the 4 leaders. The gap is going out again to 4:27. That is not going to be caught now. It's a question, absolutely, which one of these 4 is going to win the day. So this is Christophe Lemebel. It's his first Tour de France, by the way. I'm a bit surprised at that. He had a couple of cracks, I think, at the Tour of Italy. It's his first Tour de France. Not so for Oscar Freire. Over career, he's won 3 stages of the Tour de France. He's out to try and make it 4 today. There's Alessandro Ballan. They won't get caught now. It's time that matters today.
Where would you go for a delicious panini hot off the grill? How about your microwave? Try a Corner Bistro panini from Stouffer's. Cooked on our revolutionary grilling tray, they're the only panini that actually grill to perfection in your microwave. For a crispy, restaurant-inspired panini at home, try our full menu of Corner Bistro panini. And see what's cooking at Stouffer's.
Virus recovery button. The Lenovo ThinkPad Z60 with Intel Centrino mobile technology.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. The rewarding taste of Michelob Ultra. Perfectly balanced and made for today. Live life to the ultra.
OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. A unique and exciting format featuring the best players in the world, head-to-head, team-to-team. And leading up to exclusive coverage of the championship match in August.
It's World Team Tennis on OLN.
Sunday, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers take on the 5-time WTT champs Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis presented by Advanta, Sunday at 11:30, only on OLN.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
You've got a lot of stuff to paint, but not a lot of time. The new Wagner Power Painter with innovative lock-and-go cartridges lets you go from staining to painting in a snap. Wagner, paint fast, paint smart.
Do you have an adjustable rate mortgage? How much has your monthly payment gone up? Do you have credit card debt? Get a new low fixed rate home loan with one low monthly payment, even if you have a credit problem. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Welcome back. A wry smile there from Floyd Landis, who's casually riding towards the finish, about 4.5 minutes behind. A man who's climbing into just on the edge of the top 10 tonight. Little chat here with Robbie McEwen saying, well, my yellow jersey might be in danger. I doubt that. But my green jersey, well, that's going to be a bit of a problem for me, says Robbie McEwen, because Oscar Freire is up there. but you've got to, you know, plan your days with a little bit of energy in reserve for the days that lie ahead. So let's see if we can catch up with those riders up front now, because this is the main field. And as we get back to the leaders, that is Popovic, who's gone. We're about 7 kilometers from the finish. He has just jumped from nowhere and a little bit slow to get on the back wheel here, Christophe Lemervel. In fact, he's not going to get on the back wheel. He hasn't got it. And so that's Oscar Freire trying to chase now, with Balin doing most of the work, it appears. Popovic, and here comes Lemervel trying to get back on terms. The Frenchman caught completely off guard, I really don't think, at this point. And in fact, the Frenchman isn't going to make it. He's just cracked there. There's the field still meandering, and they're going under 10 kilometers to go, and all of the action out front. Well, they've got them together again, 3 of them, but no sign of Christophe Lemervel. If they mess about, he might get back. Can't be too far behind. Oh, he's a long way behind. Well, that attack has settled one issue. They've got rid of the Frenchman to finish 4th.
Well, Christophe Lemervel really did seem to be under a little bit of pressure, but still very difficult to pick a winner from this group. Jaroslav Popovic was very brave to come back and try again. But now we're down to 3 men looking for a stage victory. Again, Oscar Freire obviously not feeling overly confident, because he tries to go for a lone one.
He's a remarkable rider. He wins big sprints, but we never think of him as a pure sprinter. He will counter attacks. He showed us that coming into Dax. It was an opportunist win. The sprinter was right on him when he got there.
Well, do you remember his win of a stage of the Tour of Switzerland? As this time it's Popovic decides to go straight over the top. This is the only way to win. They know they've got to get to the finish alone, because not any one of these 3 riders is actually confident of out-sprinting Oscar Freire.
Well, Johan Bruneel will be advising Popovic from the car here, and he's clearly said, hit them again because you might get away. Popovic is looking very strong here. Now, that's 2 big attacks that we've seen from Jaroslav Popovic. It's been counted. Here comes Christophe Lemervel as he makes the roundabout. Not too close to our motorbike as he makes his journey over that roundabout. But anyway, Christophe, I think, isn't going to get back. Let's have a look up the road. No, but his wish now is to make sure he gets home in 4th place. He's 15 seconds officially behind now. That's too far. Well, is it? Because they've slowed down again.
Well, this is not going to be good for the time gap. The last time gap we got was 4 minutes and 40 seconds. But if over the next 3 or 4 kilometers they play like this, they'll lose it. Popovic trying again.
4 kilometers to go. The 3rd attack we know of by Jaroslav Popovic, and it's always Alessandro Balin who tries to reduce the deficit. He's looking a little bit sluggish this time.
He certainly is looking a little bit sluggish. He's left himself 5 or 10 bicycle lengths advantage. You need to close down gaps like this very quickly, but you know, Phil, Balin is a very strong rider. We saw him in the early part of the year. I think he was 5th in the Tour of Flanders. He was 3rd in Paris-Roubaix. He is a strong rider in the one-day races.
But Balin has looked straight at Oscar Freire here. As Popovic eases out of the saddle again, he's tempting them now, I think. Freire is waiting now. I think it hurt him last time. He's waiting for this one. We're going to get into the bendy streets shortly here in Carcassonne. Just over 2 miles to go, or 3.8 kilometers. Here comes Christophe Lemervel. He can see them just up the road. He can't get onto them.
Nope. And once they get to 2 kilometers to go, they've got a couple of traffic circles to go around. They've got a left-hand bend around the square Gambetta, and then all around the very central part of Carcassonne, the old city. And again, this is off. Popovic is going again.
And nobody was looking this time, and Balin says, no, I've been doing it all the time. But again, Freire has gambled and wouldn't help him. And I don't think Balin's got it anymore. I think he's cracked.
Well, he's just looking at Jaroslav Popovic there. 3 kilometers to go. That's about 4 minutes of effort. When you've been in the lead for so long, you've got to find something special. But I think he's not very happy about finding Oscar Freire on his wheel.
He is so fed up of it now. He's had to close every attack. This is Popovic's 4th attack. Freire has not come off his wheel and may well have cost him the race.
Well, this morning Liggett was very scathing in its remarks about Team Discovery, saying, well, finally we've seen this team crumble, but today they're absolutely bouncing back. They've decided now that if they're not going to win the Tour de France this year with Hincapie, Popovic, Martinez, they're going to go out and try and win stages. Let's not forget, last year Popovic was the best young rider in the Tour de France.
Well, this is the brilliance of the guiding of Johan Bruneel, a man who hasn't given up because he's lost the Tour de France for the first time in his career. He's guided his team now, got them to thinking into winning a stage. And Popovic, at 26 years of age and 2 kilometers to go, I think has made the move.
But you know Johan Brunel, Phil, is very clever. Look at this. They said, why don't you chase him down?
They're gone.
You want to win the stage. Oscar Freire has been caught out here this afternoon. This man is now definitely going to get the win. But I'm just casting my mind back to Johan Brunel this morning in the newspapers, Phil. He basically put everybody's guard down by saying, well, it's all over for us now.
Well, this is the part of the square now. The finish is on his left shoulder, but we've still quite a way to go around the square here. Very tricky corners. Gets a bit narrow. He's not going to worry about this. He's free to fly now. This will be a stage win indeed for Team Discovery. Well, you can't keep a good team down, and the tactical brilliance of Brunel has shown us again how to ride a Tour de France.
Taking all the risks going around these final few corners. Jaroslav Popovic now knows he's got the victory because these two riders have been caught out. Alessandro Ballan was the man who was looking for the victory for Italy here this afternoon, but the victory is going to go to the Ukraine and to Jaroslav Popovic and to the United States with Team Discovery.
And although he's done a lot of things, like he's finished third in the Giro d'Italia, he's finished fifth, he's worn the pink jersey in the Giro d'Italia for 3 days, he's won the white jersey in the Tour de France, he's never won a stage of a major Grand Tour till now.
Till now, but that's what it's all about. This man is laying down the foundations, I am sure, of a future great career. We expected him to be the man who would lead Team Discovery to a podium position this year in the Tour. Well, that all fell away on the slopes of the Pyrenees. But like a proud champion, a true champion, he's fighting himself back into the Tour de France this afternoon with a very fine stage victory.
Well, Jaroslav Popovic is now going around the square here in the centre of Carcassonne. It's really a lap of honour as we go around. He's lining up for the finish very shortly. He needn't worry about those two behind now. He earned the victory by simply hitting them as hard as he could. Not once, twice, three, but 4 times. And the 4th time, they threw out the white flag. And now Jaroslav Popovic will also probably climb up to around 11th or 12th in the Tour de France. But much more important to him now is the victory here today.
The victory here is something which is very sweet indeed for a bike rider. When you come into the finishing straight, you know you're going to win, especially when you're alone like this and you throw your hands up in the air in victory. That is a very special moment.
Jaroslav Popovic, those legs are on fire right now. He's just flicked that gear up a notch. Oh, is lap banner ever going to come to me, he says. Keeps looking under his arms there to see if there's anybody coming after him. There isn't. He's done it. Zips up his jersey. The strong man, and the Ukrainians are having a great race here with Sergei Honchov as well. Jaroslav Popovic gets the stage win for Team Discovery, and here comes the battle for what is left. And look at this, Ballan is going to give Freire a run for his money, and coming right up and gritting his teeth is Lemavelle.
Well, Lemavelle is going to take 4th place there. You can see Alejandro Ballan looks over his shoulder. And in fact, Oscar Freire, having sat on him for a number of attacks, has decided he isn't going to challenge him for the win. But look at the face on Ballan, that tells it all.
Ballan second. Freire, in fact, was not throwing a dummy at Ballan. He'd had enough for the day back down the road. Christophe Lemavelle, because it was Bastille Day, never stopped trying to catch up, and he came desperately close. But I really think 4th was always going to be for him. There's Jaroslav Popovic. Johan Brunel this morning saying all we've got left to race for is stage wins. Didn't take long in grabbing one, did he? And there'll be celebrations of a type in the team bus tonight. Been a little bit of a glimmer of hope, I suppose, too, with the ascension up the overall classification of Popovic. He'll probably rank at around about 12th, I think. It depends on what the final gap is.
Well, that was a very well-timed sprint, and you were saying how long did it take to get a stage win, but only 24 hours to turn around a complete and utter defeat in the Pyrenees. But what's important, Phil, is what the clock is going to be, because we had predicted, I think, well, the computer predicted for us 1 minute and 23. You know, it's going to be pretty close to 4.5 minutes still.
You can never listen to those mechanical things, Paul. There's still a chance of a human being surviving this time.
Well, what a computer can't quite figure out is how much pain is going through the legs of the riders on Team Phonak. They don't need to nail it back to 1 minute 23 seconds. They can leave it at 4 or 5 minutes, because as far as they're concerned, this man might be moving closer to Floyd Landis, but he's still going to be 4 or 5 minutes behind him.
And that's a big gap. Of course it is. Looking out across the medieval 12th century village town. Well, it was a village then, of course. It's a city now, Carcassonne, in the department of the Aude. Jaroslav Popovic gets the win over Alessandro Ballan, Oscar Freire and Christophe Lemel, the best Frenchman on Bastille Day. did his best to make it a good one, but it didn't work out. He was unfortunate in a breakaway of that quality. He really was up against a little bit too much strength. Here come the boys in the streets now, and they're being led for Bernardi here after the finish by Balan in second place. They're now hoping Daniela Bernardi might get one over on Robbie McEwen. But this finish for the bunch is a difficult one.
Very difficult, quite precarious, a lot of sweepers, a lot of left-hand bends. This is the back end of the main field. Robbie McEwen needs to make sure he gets points on every individual stage, and that's why it's a difficult competition, the green jersey points classification, because whatever the points that you're sprinting for, if it's 4th or 5th or even 10th, it could cost you the win at the end of the 3-week race.
Well, there's an interesting wide sweep. That is the bottom sweep around this circuit. It's a lovely way to look at Carcassonne. Look at the crowd down there. We haven't been here for quite a long time as they now try to bring them up. Eric Zabel has got second wheel here. Now is Eric going to try and finish it off? He is finishing in this Tour de France so strongly. Well, finishing it, another week to go yet, as they come off that bend safely as well. But look at the length of the line.
It's a huge, long line here. Team Phonak are stretching this out. They're not trying to sprint here this afternoon. They're trying to make it safe over the last 3 or 4 kilometers, because if you stretch the main field out into a big, long line, then what that does for you, Phil, is makes it just that little bit safer. There is Robbie McEwen. I was waiting to see when he would pop up. He's right on the wheel of Tom Bonan, and I wonder if Tom Bonan is going to take a little bit of pride in trying to sprint here this afternoon.
Still another corner to come yet. The lead out for Eric Zabel, the second man in blue. Thor Hushoff is trying to get a lead out. He's third man in green off to the right. Also mixing it in the sprint there is Tom Bonan in the white jersey. He's got his lead out man. He's going to come, and Robbie McEwen has got Tom Bonan's back wheel. Bernardi's off to the left of the picture. This is the swing which will bring them up into the finishing straight now. They take it wide. Bonan's got the position. Second round the corner. Bernardi's on his right shoulder. Bernardi will break left, but they're waiting for somebody to go. The lead out man, Hushoff, is fully stretched and going out of it. So Bonan and McEwen. Here comes the pocket bomber. He's going to just smoothly move forward. Nobody can beat him except Tom Bonan. No, yes, Tom Bonan got it.
Well, that was a little bit of pride for the world champion there. If it had been for first place, it might have been a slightly different sprint, but Bonan, I think, trying to get his morale back. He's been beaten a number of times by Robbie McEwen, but that one, Phil, that 5th place, that was just for pride.
And 4:30, I think, was the gap. So a good gain today, too, for Jaroslav Popovic. Well, looking down here, this is a beautiful city. Believe me, this is on top of the hill. This is the old medieval city. It's almost perfect from the day it was built in the 12th century. Well, a bit more modern for the boys in the Tour de France, a Ukrainian rider. We had Sergei Honchar. Now we've got Jaroslav Popovic, who gets the stage win. We'll be back with everything in a moment.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Alan Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN. You too can get the royal treatment in OLN Cyclism Sweepstakes. To enter, go to a participating retailer and grab a water bottle, where you could instantly win a Trek racing bike, plus a chance at winning a cycling trip in France. The Cyclism Sweepstakes, and watch the cyclism, the men who would be king, the Tour de France on OLN.
Come into Turin Bicycles for your chance to win, and watch the Tour de France on OLN, brought to you by Turin Bicycles at 7th and Lincoln.
Here's the deal. When you talk about Geico.com, you want to communicate 3 things. Easy to use, no middleman, could save you hundreds on car insurance. Other than that, just sort of be personable, yeah? The old nice weather, innit? Cup of tea? That'd be lovely. How's your mum? Cheers. I'll stick with the small talk, mate. Theatrics might come across as a bit cheesy.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Yes, the town of Carcassonne can go back to its sleepy state now. The Tour de France has arrived. It was a great finish again, but the Peloton also fell asleep today. 4 riders beat them by nearly 4.5 minutes, and the winner was Jaroslav Popovic. Team Discovery may have lost this Tour overall yesterday, but they came back stage winning today.
They certainly did, and what a stage win it was. He didn't attack once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times until he finally flew free down towards the finishing line. A great win by him, and it's the best way to win a stage of the Tour de France if you can, on your own, in the finishing straight with nobody behind in sight.
And this win will move him up into 10th place overall tonight. I'm pretty sure of that. But first of all, let's have a look at the stage results today, presented by Honda. Popovic of Discovery Channel getting the win ahead of Alessandro Ballan. He was really upset. He probably would have been the best finisher in the sprint, as it turned out. Oscar Freire was tired towards the end, but got 3rd. Christophe Lemavelle, best of the French on July the 14th, Bastille Day. 4:25. They gained nothing over the last 20 kilometres of the race. Bonan getting the better of McEwen, Francisco Ventoso, Eric Zabel in there, Bernardi in there as well, and Torhushoff faded in that last finishing straight. Luca Paolini always seems to slot in around 11th, as does David Kopp in his first Tour de France. Axel Merck mixing it as well. Jimmy Casper, the winner of Stage 1, still going strong in 14th, and Marcus Photon will keep his white jersey in what has been for him a fabulous first Tour. Floyd Landis crossing the line 20th today at 4:25, and that is the sign of a very strong leader of the Tour de France, Paul. When you stay out of trouble and still go with the sprinters in 20th, you're going good.
That's the important thing, and that's why we saw towards the end Team Phonak stretching out the main field so that Floyd Landis could stay at the front and not get involved in any of the argy-bargy and not go down. The most important thing when you're a leader is not to get involved in an accident.
Absolutely. Well, I think we can take you now to the overall standings presented by Michelob Ultra. Floyd Landis completes his first full day in the Maillot Jaune. Same time gaps, all of these top 5 riders. They all finished together today in that pack at 4 minutes 25 down. It was a long, hot day for them, but they retained their gains made in the Pyrenees yesterday. We'll try and take a further look down the overall, because I think we will find that Jaroslav Popovic, there he is, and now slots in into 10th place with his gains of around about 4:30 odd today. So he's reduced his 9-minute deficit to 4 minutes 15, and of course he's won the day. Marcus Photon with 11th remains still the highest new rider in this competition. He stays on the white jersey, and the top 15 completed by Michael Bogart, who still has a gap of 5:54. You're up to date with the result of the Tour de France, but we've got plenty more for you to come on our programme. We'll take a quick break. We'll then rejoin Al Trautwig and Bob Roll, and we'll bring you up to date with everything on the Route de Tour. See you in a moment.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
Some perfection is debatable. Some is not. Patron, the world's #1 ultra-premium tequila. Simply perfect. Please drink responsibly.
your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
Here's to men, to guys who want to take longer drives with fewer pit stops, to guys who want to spend less time in the men's room and more time fishing. And here's to Flomax. It's approved to treat male urinary symptoms due to BPH, also called an enlarged prostate. In 1 week, Flomax may help symptoms like going often, going urgently, weak stream, frequently waking up at night to go. For you, Flomax could make a difference in 1 week. Ask your doctor if symptoms are from BPH, not prostate cancer. Common side effects of Flomax are runny nose, dizziness, and decrease in semen. Upon standing, a sudden decrease in blood pressure may occur, rarely resulting in fainting. So when starting Flomax, avoid situations where injury could result. For more information, call 877-4FLOMAX. Ask your doctor about Flomax. Flomax could make a difference in 1 week.
The medieval walls of Carcassonne dominated today with a stage win by Jaroslav Popovic. He takes stage 12 and maybe dramatically changes the feeling of what Discovery thinks is possible in this Tour de France. So let me get this straight. It's a 9-minute cushion. The Peloton and Floyd Landis know that. The break is about 4.5 minutes the entire day, and that's almost what they allow Popovic to get. They shave what is 9 minutes almost in half and puts him in the top 10, and that's okay?
I think that's all right with Floyd Landis. Popovic not climbing that well, not time trialing that well either, so not factoring right in up in the top 5, top 10 guys on GC. You only have a certain amount of energy to defend the yellow jersey. If you have to do that day in and day out, you will be more vulnerable than if you try to close down to 4 very, very strong cyclists. Lamavelle, Balland, Frère, and Popovic, some of the best men, strongest riders in this bike race. I think that's a decent tactic by Phonak, letting them get the time, maybe have some help from the sprinters teams. That didn't materialize. And Popovic taking advantage of the hesitation in the field and all of those factors to get a great stage win and restore some of the luster to the Discovery Team program.
Popovic tried and tried and tried and then finally succeeded at dropping the 3 emerging from the 4-man breakaway. Here's how he did it.
Popovic launches, Balland straight onto the wheel. Oscar Frère, he gets onto the wheel of Balland. This neutralizes thing. Mavelle dropped immediately. Frère goes, Balland chasing again. Balland now is in a difficult situation. He is the man who is the spoiler. When he goes to the front, the other 2 alternate attacks, and Balland obliged to chase every single one of those down. Eventually, he's going to be unable to do that, especially with riders of the caliber of Jaroslav Popovic and Oscar Frère. Finally, Balland says, listen, I'm getting sick and tired of chasing every single one of these accelerations. Frère sitting on the wheel. Frère probably fairly exhausted right now. He's done a lot of sprints and a lot of tempo throughout the day, and that's the gap that Popovic was looking for, and he takes it all the way into the finish line. Great, great ride by the Ukrainian. Here's the words between Balland and Frère. Frère saying, listen, I'm dead. I cannot do the tempo. Sign of the cross, heavens, hands to the heavens, and great ride by Jaroslav Popovic, returning some glory to the Discovery Channel cycling team and moving himself into the top 10 on GC. What a ride by Popovic.
First good news Discovery's had since George Hincapie wore the yellow jersey. Here's the stage results just for stage 12 now, presented by Honda. Popovic winning. Balland and Frère come in 27-29 seconds later. Christophe Lemavelle then 6 seconds after that. And then you see the break. Tom Boonen was part of what the Peloton was at 4 minutes and 25 seconds. So that is what Popovic gains on the yellow jersey of Floyd Landis. Robin McEwen right there at the finish line again. Paulini Cup, Axel Merckx, Jimmy Casper, a stage winner in this tour, and Marcus Foden not doing anything to hurt his status as one of the great young riders, as there's Floyd Landis given the same finishing time as the rest of those in the Peloton. So Yaroslav Popovich with Craig Hummer, who's been following Discovery every day.
Popo, your attacks came fast and furious in those last few kilometers. It took 5 times, but how confident were you that you'd get away at the end?
Yeah, this is a very difficult stage for this Discovery team because first 15K is really attack, really difficult. After going in break, last K is for me is really, really hot.
Last year you win the white jersey. This, though, is your first stage win in a major Grand Tour ever. How big of a day is this for you?
Yeah, it's a very big day. It's no good for my classification in general, but it's nothing. I can try again.
Speaking of, you mentioned the team already. Let's look at how big of a day it was for Discovery Channel. It was disappointing, I know, for the team overall, yesterday's stage. How much did you and the other riders want to come out and make a statement today?
I think it's very important for team for moral. Yeah, it's very good. I think, I hope next stage team go very, very good.
Congratulations on a great win.
Thank you.
Popovich saying good for morale. I think that's an understatement. And don't you think now that Discovery believes that something is doable with him standing where he stands in the top 10, 4.5 back?
Oh, absolutely. It's a brand new ball game for the Discovery Channel cycling team. Popovich mentioning himself, he can continue to chip away and move into the picture on GC. And if any of the men in front of him falter, he has a great chance to do something special in this tour.
Skies are opening a little bit here in Carcassonne. That thunderstorm has given us exactly what we thought it would, dumping rain down as they salute what they're seeing in front of the inflatable podium that makes its way to the finish line each and every day of the tour. Yaroslav Popovich getting the smooches that come with the stage win and the trophy. That is a proud moment for him. And we'll get you a sense of what's being spoken of at the Discovery bus as we continue our post-stage 12 conversation here. Live on OLN from Carcassonne, France. Yaroslav Popovich takes stage 12. Back after this.
Right, but a talking gecko, why?
I'll tell you why. Because people trust advertising icons. Some bloke tells you to go to geico.com and you're like, really? And just who might you be? But a gecko, he can be trusted. I ask if you want to save hundreds on car insurance and you're like, yes, thank you. Mind babysitting my kids? And I'm like, of course I'll sit with the kids. You're like a brother to me.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
We are the men and women of the United States Army Reserve. We're people just like you, with civilian careers, families, and a desire to serve. We stand ready. Find out how the Army Reserve can help you answer the call with enlistment bonuses and money to continue your education while you train near home. You'll also get a savings plan and valuable experience that will benefit you far into the future. Call 1-800-235-3219 for a free DVD and sports watch. Stand ready in the Army Reserve.
Attention.
Free yourself from big phone bills. With Comcast Digital Voice, you get unlimited local and long distance, plus 12 popular calling features, while saving more than 20% over Quest. And it's only $39.95 a month for Comcast customers. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice risk-free and get all your Comcast services on one bill. Stop writing those big checks to the phone company. Comcast Digital Voice gives you unlimited local and long distance with 12 popular calling features plus voicemail, all for just $39.95 a month. So you save more than 20% over Quest. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Get Comcast Digital Voice for just $39.95 a month. Call 1-800-COMCAST.
medieval town of Carcassonne, the finish line today, they're jousting. They joust here all the time, so it seems appropriate that Landis jousts yesterday and Popovich jousts back here today. And that's really what sort of happened today. He was the only dangerous one in the breakaway, and he gets the most out of it. I mean, 4:25 on a flat stage is pretty good.
That's a huge advantage and a gigantic incursion into the top 10 on the GC from a man that started the day 23rd on the GC. Popovich now into the frame in 10th overall.
As long as we have this time, let's also talk about the sprinter's green jersey. Robbie McEwen there with the Peloton. He was there right at the finish line, involved in things. Here's a look at what happened today. Keep an eye on the green jersey.
Green jersey of McEwen trying to come around. Boom, boom, Tom Boonen starting to sprint better. This is the first time he's gotten the better of McEwen since the beginning of this Tour de France. That's got to be good for the morale. Maybe he'll put his men on the front of tomorrow's stage. Tom Boonen gets passed by Oscar Freire for points, and Oscar Freire doing a great job to close in to within 10 points of Robbie McEwen.
And that's because Freire finished in front of Boonen in that breakaway, so he gets the bonus from that. 2:17 to 2:07. Oscar Freire's got to think, hey, this is not over yet. This green jersey thing is not over yet, because he's proven good enough to win 2 stages with McEwen in the mix of those stages.
This is going to prove to be a very competitive race for the green jersey throughout the rest of this tour.
You know what it make him down to? It make him down to some of those weird sprints that you get in the mountain stages, like McEwen got 6 bonus ones yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. Freire would be within 4 points if it hadn't been for that. So Robbie McEwen taking advantage of every single chance he gets to get more points for the green jersey. 3 men really locked in a battle: Boonen, Freire, and Robbie McEwen. That's going to be a great competition to follow throughout the rest of the tour.
How is it possible that Popovich and those guys had it in their legs after yesterday?
Well, that's pretty amazing. That's a good question. Popovich feeling bad yesterday, feeling a lot better today. Freire probably had a pretty easy day, just sitting in the gruppetto. Lemavelle struggled throughout the mountains, and Ballon is a very strong sprinter, and he is also a very good classics man. Recovery a huge part of the Tour de France, and those 4 men probably recovering the best of everybody in the field and found the breakaway. They extended their lead throughout the day. That was a great ride by very strong men on the roads of the Tour in today's stage.
Floyd Landis was a vision in yellow today. He had the shoes, he had the bike, he had the helmet, he had the glasses, he had the jersey, and today he's got Le Maillot Jaune for a second day at the conclusion of racing here in the Tour.
Floyd Landis getting number 2 yellow jerseys, and he is a happy man. His team rode great today, maybe giving a little bit too much time to Popovich. That'll play out in the days to come. But Floyd Landis has got to be pleased with the way his team rode, and all he had to do was follow the wheels after a huge effort yesterday. We'll talk to Robbie Ventura about how he felt today, and that'll be a good indication of how well he's recovering. He's got a few days before the big stage to Alpe d'Huez. Next Tuesday would be the next rendezvous we have with general classification.
Big crowd watching now in a downpour in Carcassonne. We'll check out the standings now, and really the dramatic difference is Popovich, of course. Landis still leads. Cyril Dessel not expected to challenge for the yellow in Paris by 8 seconds. Denny Menchoff at 101. Cadel Evans, these are contenders now at 117. Carlos Sastre at 152. To numbers 6 through 10, you'll see Popovich has moved into the 10th spot, 4:15 behind. Andreas Kloden, can he re-find his mountain legs? What about Michael Rogers? Juan Miguel Mercado still in the mix at 3:33, and Christophe Moreau, the best French hope, at 3:44. On down the list, brought to you by Michelob Ultra, Marcus Foden. This guy's very, very solid.
Foden hanging tough, and then Levi moving into the frame, 14th. He lost a place because of Popovich. Michael Bugert in 15th. Ivan Para rounding out the top 20. Azevedo, Karpitz, Landaluza, and Georg Tochnik.
Let's go backstage. Frankie Andreu with the yellow jersey wearer, Floyd Landis.
Floyd, first day in the yellow jersey, and it seemed to throw everything out at you. A little bit of crosswind, some tailwind. It was extremely hot. How did you recover from yesterday, and how was it for you today?
It was difficult to control, but we were lucky in the first breakaway there. There was some sprinters, and the other sprinter teams wanted to work for the jersey, the green jersey. So we didn't have to do anything till after the feed zone there for 60, 70 kilometers or so. But I think it was a hard day for everybody. It was up and down and a lot of turns, so it wasn't so easy whether you're in the front or the back.
You mentioned it was difficult to control. Were you ever concerned about Popovich gaining too much time and entering back into the race?
No, they only had 4 guys with them. If it was a group of 20 guys, it would have been a problem, but since there was only 4, it was okay for us.
Your team obviously had to do a lot of work today. This might cause some concern in the next couple flat days. Is there any way to be able to allow that jersey to go away, or do you plan on keeping this now all the way through the Alps?
We'll see one day at a time. If somebody else gets it, that's not a big danger for the GC. That wouldn't be a bad thing, but we didn't have to do a whole lot more than anybody else today, so I think we're all right.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
No concern there.
Floyd Landis hanging tough. He knows his teammates are capable of doing the big chases. I don't know. He says if they lost the jersey, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. But you can't lose it to a guy like Jaroslav Popovich. You might never get it back again.
It was July 14th, Bastille Day. Wasn't going to happen for a Frenchman today, but it was like December 25th for Floyd Landis. Earlier today, he was given a little present from the men who give him his cycle, and it was all done up in yellow. That is one snazzy looking ride.
That is a beautiful machine. A lot of joy on the face of Floyd Landis, and that is the result of incredible amounts of hard work all year, day in and day out. And this has been going on for many years now in the life of Floyd Landis. He's been a cyclist for his entire life, and that is the highest prize you can get, and a little bonus there with the gold bicycle.
And to his teammates, it means something too. It means to them, the 8 who follow him, that they are following the right man, and you can't give a team positive reinforcement too soon in a race.
No, absolutely not. You don't want to give your teammates anything but extra incentive to keep working. Team Phonak did an ideal job today. Maybe a little bit of too much time to Jaroslav Popovich, but we'll have to see in the days to come. We won't know until next Tuesday.
Some thought today was good for a breakaway, and that's exactly what happened. A successful one it was for Jaroslav Popovich. We'll wrap things up here in stage 12 and look ahead to stage 13 as we continue post-race from France on OLN.
American Floyd Landis is in yellow, but stage 13 is for green. And red-hot riders McEwen, Boonen, and Farrar will turn on the afterburners. The Tour de France continues tomorrow live at 8:30 a.m. on OLN. Brought to you by Capital One. OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
Intelligent key technology that knows you. Seats that hug you. A ride that spoils you. The next Nissan Maxima, part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
Hi everybody, I'm Yolanda, telling you that Comcast high-speed internet is worth it. Worth it to download quicker, to win auctions in the last second, and worth it to help with that homework. You can have high speed, surfing up to 100 times faster. Want all the worth it of Comcast high-speed internet? Check this out.
Call 1-800-COMCAST today and get high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. Plus, get a self-install kit for just $1.
Comcast high-speed internet gets a thumbs up from Oxygen and a W for worth it.
One chick, one chicken dinner. 6 chicks, 6 chicken dinners. 1 is good, 6 is better. Especially for NASCAR Nextel Cup Series racing. Now you can add not just 1, but 6 channels of in-car coverage, plus data, telemetry, and team audio, all with NASCAR in-car, only on digital cable. Order today for just $69. Call 1-888-COMCAST today. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by LL Bean, official outfitter of OLN, and by Nissan. The next Nissan Maxima is here.
on a day when Discovery could have lost hope because they lost 2 riders, Paolo Salvadelli and Benjamin Noval. Jaroslav Popovic made it a day to smile in their blue team bus. He takes the stage and shaves 4.5 minutes off of Floyd Landis' lead into the race for the yellow jersey. He moves into the top 10. It's Landis' triumphant day. He wore the yellow jersey for the first time after stage 11 yesterday, winning that decisive mountain stage, and he wears it again today, giving away time, but not giving away his overall lead. So again, just summarizing what we saw today, a huge day for Discovery. And again, now Popovic is part of the top 10. He's a dangerous man. But again, we don't sense any concern for Floyd Landis. This is going to stay flat now for the next couple of days. And this was fine for Phonak to allow Popovic to do what he did today in that 4-man break. They can't do it again.
No, they cannot let Popovic get into another one of these long breakaways. Great day for American cycling team. Discovery Channel getting a big stage win with Jaroslav Popovic. And of course, Floyd Landis, another day in the yellow jersey.
So what has to be different to not let this happen again?
They have to be a little bit more attentive, maybe send one of their riders in the breakaway to neutralize things, and maybe just do more tempo in the front of the race.
I think a lot of people who follow this race believe that Floyd Landis will hold the yellow jersey for at least the next couple of days as we continue our journey around France, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany. Seems like ancient history. So does Brittany, for that matter. Anyway, the Pyrenees were just yesterday as we get set on stage 15's march into the Alps. 3 alpine stages in a row, but first, quickly, 13 tomorrow.
Béziers up to Montélimar, and the crosswinds could blow again. Long stage, 230 kilometers. A pile of small climbs out on the course, 2 sprints and 1 feed zone.
And another flat stage after that, carrying us through 14. Well, it's time now for an Ask Bobke that sets up the Alps stage very, very perfectly. Quite quickly, Bob, what is the difference between the Pyrenees and the Alps?
I always found the Pyrenees climbs to be a lot different. They're steeper, and the pavement not nearly as good. Generally speaking, the temperature is a lot hotter. The alpine climbs, they are a little bit more gradual gradient as you rise, and the pavement, concrete, a lot better surface. The Pyrenees always very tough. You put in the Basque schmengies that ascend onto the race and are lining the course, scream at you day in and day out. The Pyrenees are tough. The Alps are no picnic either.
Thanks to Felina in Gaithersburg, Maryland. If you'd like to ask Bobke a question or keep up with the tour, go to olntv.com/Tour de France. Okay, here we go. Stage 15. It is the Yankee Stadium Lambeau Field of cycling. It is the one and only Alpe d'Huez, and it's 21 turns.
Gap to Alpe d'Huez, not such a long stage, but it's going to be a very tough day anyways. Col d'Izoard to begin, beyond category, down into Serre-Cheval, the valley below. L'Autouré is the next climb, back down into the valley, and then look at this climb, straight up into the stratosphere. Alpe d'Huez, that is climber's paradise, 187 kilometers total. That is going to be an incredibly tough stage.
That profile is unbelievable. As I mentioned, 3 stages in the Alps. Stage 16 is equally difficult, and wait until you see the profile of this one as the Tour visits La Toisière for the very first time.
Bourg d'Auzan to La Toisière, Col de Galibier, beyond category, 2,600 meters. And then a couple of climbs we haven't done before, including the finish to La Toisière, Croix de Fer in between, another beyond category, Col du Moyard, and then up to La Toisière for the finish. That's going to be an incredibly tough stage as well.
Look at that first climb right out of the chute. Wow, that's going to be a wild stage to predict. And we're going to see how Floyd Landis' hip holds up and how his team holds up, because remember, there was some fracturing in Phonak as they went through the 5 mountain stages yesterday. Let's go ahead and show you the trifecta in the Alps. This is the 3rd alpine stage, 17.
Saint-Jean, Saint-Maurienne to Morzine. More hard climbing, Col de Saez, Col de Aravis, Le Grand Bonnard, Col de la Colombière. And then you have the hard climb just before you drop down, the Jouplan into Morzine for the finish. Unbelievable 3 stages in a row. Look at that categorized HC to finish off the day before going into Morzine. Jouplan, very tough.
And the one thing about these alpine stages is, keep in mind, the last stage before this thing goes to France and Paris for the ceremonial entrance into the city on the last day is an individual time trial. Everybody's got Floyd Landis' individual time trial success hanging over their heads. So in reality, they don't want to just catch Floyd Landis in those alpine stages. If they have any intent of wearing the yellow jersey in Paris, they've got to pass Floyd Landis in the Alps.
Absolutely. They have to put time on Floyd Landis. He was the only GC man to do a really good time trial. He had some problems, and in spite of those, was still able to finish very close to Sergei Gonchar. The rest losing big time to Floyd Landis.
All right, the other thing about the flat stages that we have here in southern France, they're hot. So it's not going to be exactly what these riders had in Brittany and setting themselves up for the Pyrenean climbs. They're going to bake for over 100 miles a day for the next 3 days. I mean, today was so hot. It's been cooled off here by about 15 degrees by the thunderstorm, but the riders didn't feel any of this today.
No, they had to race in the heat all the way to the finish line. That dehydrates you. It makes rehydrating throughout the day more important, and especially now that the stage is over, the rest of the evening, water bottle at the ready and sipping all evening long throughout dinner. Maybe cool it on the wine also.
All right, with the thunderclaps in the distance, we wrap things up from Carcassonne. We want to remind you each and every night we're on in prime time, 8 Eastern, 9 Pacific. Also live coverage at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow for stage 13. Remember, starting with stage 15, we'll have expanded coverage so we can bring you all the drama in the Alps. But tomorrow from Béziers to Mont-Lamar in France, enhanced coverage in prime time at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Pacific. Unbelievable pictures today, but that's what we've come to expect in the Tour de France. This is the 2006 edition, and Floyd Landis has the yellow jersey. For more, go to olntv.com. Our team is outfitted by LL Bean, and you can visit what they've got at llbean.com. We're in sunflower territory, and that's exactly the color of the yellow jersey. How long will Floyd Landis be able to hold on? It is a heavy weight to bear to protect the yellow jersey, which they tried to today at the front of the peloton, but they give 4.5 minutes back to Team Discovery, and that's got to give the team in blue some belief for all the greatness that they've experienced firsthand in the Tour. Jaroslav Popovic, off and on his way to the first stage win of his career. He takes stage 12 here in Carcassonne. With Bob Roll and for Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwen, Frankie Andreu, Craig Hummer, and Robbie Ventura, I'm Al Trautwig. Thanks for joining us for the Tour de France on OLN. We'll see you tomorrow for stage 13.